Committee meeting, April 21st, 2025, 7 p.m., located here at the Municipal Building, 770 Coopertown Road, Delanco. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bartlett.
Here.
Mrs. Patrick. Here. Mr. McFadden.
Here.
Mr. Olet.
Here.
Ms. Seuss.
Here, thank you. Also present, Mr. Schwab, our Township Administrator, and Mrs. Lohr, our Municipal Clerk, and Mrs. Russell, Deputy Municipal Clerk, and Mr. Warren, our Police Chief. Please rise for the flag salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Janice, could you please read the sunshine and live stream statements?
Please be advised that proper notice of this meeting has been given in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act in the following manner. Written notice has been mailed to the Delanco County Times and Courier Post and published in the December 30th, 2024 editions. Written notice has been posted on the official bulletin board of the Township of Delanco at least 48 hours prior to the meeting. Excuse me. This meeting, this meeting of the Delanco Township Committee may be transmitted via live stream on YouTube video. The streaming of the meeting is not intended to be relied upon, I'm losing my voice and I apologize, as formal public access under the Open Public Meetings Act. If the technology is disrupted for any reason, the township will proceed in person as an official meeting in accordance with the official notice. I apologize.
Thank you. Get some water. Okay, we will move right into our 2025 municipal budget section. This will be the public hearing and adoption. Right now we have Resolution 2025-65, the annual budget self-examination portion. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll move we approve Resolution 2025-65, the annual budget self-examination.
Second.
Motion by Matt, second by Phil. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bartlett.
Yes.
Mrs. Patrick.
Yes.
Mr. McFadden.
Yes.
Mr. Olet.
Yes.
And Ms. Seuss.
Yes, thank you. Moving on to Resolution 2025-66, resolution authorizing municipal budget reading by title only. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Kate, second by Phil. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bartlett.
Yes.
Mrs. Patrick.
Yes.
Mr. McFadden.
Yes.
Mr. Olet.
Yes.
And Ms. Seuss.
Yes, thank you. We will now open this hearing to the public for 2025 municipal budget. Public comments will be limited to 5 minutes and will only be open to municipal budget questions only. Janice, could you please read the 5-minute information?
Pursuant to provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-12, the Delanco Township Committee is entitled to permit, regulate, or prohibit public participation in its meetings. Public participation and comment shall be governed by the following rules to maintain order and prevent disruption of the meeting. Each speaker will have a maximum of 5 minutes to speak and should limit comments to the matter at hand. The speaker will be directed to conclude the remarks once the speaker's time has expired. No time may be yielded to a speaker by another speaker. Groups are asked to select a spokesperson to speak on their behalf. Speakers will address the Township Committee from the podium and are asked to begin their remarks with their name and address for the record. Township Committee members are not obligated to answer impromptu questions or address remarks from members of the public during the public comment period. Speakers should expect the Township Committee to refrain from engaging in a dialogue except to the extent necessary to clarify the speaker's comment. The allotted time for speaking from the podium is the method to address the Township Committee during the public comment period. The Township Committee will not entertain questions or comments called out from the audience. Speakers and members of the public should at all times maintain proper decorum and shall make their comments in a civil manner. Personal attacks, obscenity, derogatory, or slanderous remarks will not be tolerated.
Thank you. I'd also like to take this time to please ask that you silence your cell phones or put them on vibrate. So the hearing is now open to the public. If you'd like to come up, please approach the podium and state your name and address. And again, this is the public hearing for the 2025 municipal budget. What? Yes.
What's that?
Yeah, just,
Yep, go ahead, Richard, if you want to give a summary, please.
yeah, from the budget message, to let you know, this is the annual municipal budget, and... Sorry, hold down? Okay. And the budget has an appropriation amount of $8,048,972, which is a 2% increase from last year. The non-tax revenues are $2,648,637, which is a 7.9% decrease. 1.6 million is the appropriated surplus, which is 11.9%. We've added another surplus from deferred school tax collections of 250,000. The tax levy is an increase to 5,400,335, 4.9%. The total assessed values in the community is 449,294,064, an increase of 222,000, which is less than 4%. Municipal tax rate go from 1.202 per hundred value. It'll increase to 104.42, which is a 5.5% increase, 4.8%. And there, we put in the budget message the reasons that the increases dealing with the reduction in revenue and increase in operating costs. And that's the difference between those two things is the change in the tax levy, which then is determines the tax rate. So that's the technical stuff, and I think everyone has a copy of the budget message.
Okay. So last call for public comment on the 2025 municipal budget. Seeing none, I will close this hearing to the public. Can I get a motion for Resolution 2025-67, adoption of the 2025 budget?
Excuse me, Mayor.
Yes.
I'd like to make a comment before we go to vote.
Sure, absolutely.
For the committee. With this year's budget, there are a few things in there that I am concerned about that it's not only this year, but future budgets over the next couple of years that we have in there. And this is not going to be popular, but as we look at our own budgets at home and we try and make adjustments, we become concerned, or we put things on the back table, or say, well, we can't do it now, but we'll do it later. One of the items on there is we're going to 16 police officers, and there's a rule of thumb that for every 500 residents you have
Can't
one.
hear. I can't hear
Yeah,
you,
talking
Fern.
to microphone, like all the way up there, you go.
Got it. Okay. The rule of thumb is that when you have for every 500 residents, you have one police officer. So our town has just shy of 5,000. So you round up to 5,000 residents. So that would be 10 police officers. Then we have a police chief, a lieutenant, and a detective. So that's 13. And then with folks retiring, things happen. So we got to the point of having 15 police officers. That seems to be a magical number. That has worked, and now we're going to 16. So by doing that, we're adding probably another $130 to $140 per year to have the extra police officer. So that becomes a concern, because it's not one time where we're making an adjustment and the police officer's going to retire. We have a couple police officers retiring or moving on that we have to fill that slot, and then that 16th position would go away. This becomes a permanent expenditure. So I'm concerned about that for the long term. The other item that I'm concerned with is the pocket park on Vine Street. And we applied for a grant, and if we get it, great. And I believe that's supposed to be $234,000 to fix up that park. But if we don't get the grant, then we're going to go ahead and spend that money to fix up the park. And I understand next year's the centennial, and we'd like to have that park fixed up. But again, it's an expense. If it were my home and I was looking at doing things, I'd have to push that off because I can't afford to do it. And then the other item, which is in the statement, the budget message, is we took $250,000 from our deferred school tax. And there's an explanation in there. But again, we're borrowing money, and even though we may not ever have to pay it back, but at some point, if we do, then it comes back and hits our budgets. So we're borrowing money to balance the budget, and I understand that. But again, it's a concern. So I just wanted to get that out there in the open before we voted. Thank you, Mayor.
Chief, did you want to speak about your request for the 16th officer? Did you want to get into anything about why you feel that was important for the town? You have the option not required, but I think it kind of deserves some comment from you.
Well, the supposed rule of thumb for one officer every 500 is ridiculous. Simply for the fact that I was requested and asked of you, sir, in January for a room that holds, Deputy, how many people does this room hold?
150.
How many?
150.
150. I'm here, but you requested specifically for an increase in police presence for a room that only holds 150. But you're saying that one officer can handle 500? It's ridiculous. We've increased our calls of service exponentially over the last 2 years, let alone what we're seeing with the increase in the amount of people who move into our town. Our officers responded to almost 11,000 calls last year. Officers were working in excess, almost 400 hours in overtime annually for the last 4 years. 4 years. We were getting killed. It wasn't enough officers because we were still having guys calling out sick because they were getting overworked. So we needed extra manpower. Gone are the days, sir, where we could go and utilize mutual aid, where we can call Riverside or Edgewater Park or Delran. It doesn't happen anymore, sir, because they're busy. So then in response time to get to these people's homes for when they have a problem increases, which is not good for them. It's not safe. So we definitely need a 16th officer so we can have quality service that we're going to provide to our residents, as well as people who come to this town to visit, patronize our establishments. But it was done for a reason. And there was a study done years ago, and I know you're aware of it. At that time, when that study was done in 2004, for a town at that time that only had about 3,800, the study that was paid for requested then for us to have a minimum of 12 officers. That was in 2004, based off of that population. So I don't know where you got the rule of thumb for 1 every 500. That's ridiculous. It's insane. It's not safe. That's all I'd say.
Thank you. I'd also like to point out, we may have 15 officers on the payroll, but there's never 15 officers available.
No. I have one officer right now who has been away on military deployment since 2023.
And then we have injuries.
I have a sergeant out right now.
We have maternity leave, paternity leave,
I
excuse
have
me.
2 officers who have wives pregnant at the moment.
Yes.
One's due in June, the other one is due in September.
And
Real quick for that, they're entitled to FMLA, which is 12 weeks. So at any point in time, we only have 2 officers on. We have 2-man minimum. If you remember, we just went to 2-man minimums in 2015. Prior to that, we had 1 officer working day shift, which was myself. I worked by myself on day shift for 6 years alone. By myself. By myself. And then former Chief DeSanto worked the opposite of me. Then we had 2 officers working in the evening. And then when our officer was involved in shooting, because he had no one to back him up, we demanded that we be able to go to 2-man minimum because we didn't have enough officers. But the numbers you cited would have still had him in that same predicament. Not safe, because he was alone.
right. And I lost my train of thought, sorry. It's one of those things where if these officers are working so much overtime, they get burnt out and then they want to leave. And a lot of times they'll go to the prosecutor's office for a 9-to-5 job. And, with this generation of officers, they're younger, more my age and younger, they want the work-life balance. They don't want to have to work 60, 70 hours a week. They don't want to have to be forced in. They want to be able to spend time with their family and not get worried about get called in. So we never have 15 officers. And I don't think personally that the safety of our town is something that should be considered in our budget cuts. If the chief is asking for 16 officers, then it's warranted and needed. And I trust his opinion. And
We're normally working with 12.
right, exactly.
We're normally working with 12.
We're not going to have 16 guys on ever. at once. And I mean, we've put officers through the academy the last couple of years because of the retirement, and we've been lucky enough that they've stayed on.
Right.
They have great leadership. They have a great committee behind them now, and I think we're moving in the right direction. And we haven't had anyone leave in some time now. Fingers
Right,
crossed. We
because
did.
finally we have staff.
Right, and we had 2 officers that just did lateral transfers that actually wanted to come here,
Right.
and are excited about it, right? So we're very lucky. We have a great staff right now, so fingers crossed we're not going to have any more babies or go out on sick leave, and no, just kidding. Please have all the babies you want. So, yeah, so that was just my comment regarding that, that aspect of Mr. Oled's comments. Anyone else have anything else they want to respond to or
Just
mention?
on that topic, you know, if we have our 2 guys and they're out on a call, like earlier today, there was an MVA, 3 cars at the traffic light, they could be out there for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. If there's a unwitnessed death, they might be out there for 2, 3, 4 hours.
I'll give you an example. For a normal domestic call where someone is taken into custody, my 2 officers are then entitled for a minimum of 2 hours. Minimum of 2 hours. And that's if only one person is signing complaints. If there are counter complaints, make it 3. You say, why? How is that? Why is that? Because of the amount of paper we have to do as far as processing. And then if someone has to go and be transported to the jail, now leaves one person in town while the other officer goes to transport. When you go to the jail, you're standing in line like you are at the grocery store. You're sitting outside waiting to be let into a sally port. And then once you get inside that said sally port, you didn't have to stand and sit and wait until they bring you into the jail to transfer over custody. So it goes from a 2-hour processing ordeal, and if someone has to get remanded to the jail, it's another hour and a half minimum. And here it is, so if someone's alone, still in town, that we're asking, hey, can you listen out for us if we have something? So what we wound up doing is having our detective leave to go out and help respond to calls. When he's trying, well, mind you, we only have 1 detective. So he's responsible, so you guys know, our 1 detective is responsible for 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, he's on call, because I only have 1 detective. So with the amount of cases he's on, he's doing that by himself. We try to aid in the system with some of the processing, but he's doing it on his own. But then when we have someone leave, like I just described, he's in task with, hey, help back the officers up on calls. So now his workload gets pushed to the side.
So would you say, all in all, with the call, you know, transferring to a facility and paperwork, it's a 6 to 7 hour process
It could
with the
be.
domestic?
I had to have, they just had to have an officer come in 2 weeks ago because they had to take someone to the jail. Sometimes people do a thing where they say, I feel sick, my chest hurts. Well, now they have to go and reroute to the hospital and then be cleared from the hospital to be admitted to the jail. This gentleman was arrested at 1:30 in the morning. He did not leave virtual hospital and remanded into the jail until 1 in the afternoon. I'd have an officer come in to sit with him at the hospital because our county doesn't provide that service. So then I had another officer, again, here alone, so I had to call another officer in so he can sit with him.
Right.
There's no 1 to 500.
Thank you. I appreciate the clarification. Kate, did you want to say something?
I just wanted to say that I was on Township Committee when we did that survey years ago, and the survey was actually requested by members of the committee at that time,
Yes, ma'am.
thinking that we could reduce the police department.
Yes, ma'am.
And actually, when that survey came back, we didn't have enough officers on staff at that time.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's why we have continued
Yes,
to listen to our chief each year.
Yes.
And to bring on the officers that we need to make this town safe.
absolutely.
And I have always been in support of what the chief has requested because they have the safety of this town in their hands. And so they aren't frivolous, believe me.
Absolutely.
So I just wanted to state that
thank you.
because I was on that committee when that report came through, and some of the members of the township committee were shocked. They thought for sure they were going to reduce the police force at that time, and that did not happen.
I mean, nothing but nothing, too, if I can also add one last thing. At our last meeting, we spoke about an unfortunate event. We lost someone dear to a lot of people in here, right? We had 2 officers that were able to respond to that incident, not 1, because we needed 2. To properly administer CPR, you need 2 people. You need 2 people. Understood?
Chief, I thank you, and I appreciate you sharing the experiences and the things that take place in our town and the safety and security of our residents here in town, okay? Yes, in looking at dollars and cents, and from that standpoint, may not be the right thing, but again, in looking at budgets and those type of things, it was something that stood out, and I think this is a healthy dialogue, and I appreciate it, and thank you.
Understood.
When I became mayor, I asked to sit down with you and talk to you about your department, and you had just become chief. So we could I could learn more about your day-to-day operations, what your needs were, how your department, operated. And I think we talked for 3 or 4 hours, and it was really beneficial to me. And I learned more about the processes and how our department works. And, I think maybe it's, beneficial for other committee members to have that conversation if they have concerns. And I'm sure Chief would be willing to sit down with you and talk more about it. But at this point, I think it's kind of a no-brainer, and it's common sense that we need safety in our town. And if that's what the chief's requesting, I have no problem with that. And I know other committee members are on board as well. Anybody else have anything else? Okay, again, I will ask for Resolution 2025-67, adoption of the 2025 municipal budget. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
I'm sorry, who was that?
Phil?
Phil, thank you.
Motion by Phil, second by Kate, to adopt Resolution 2025-67, adopting the 2025 municipal budget. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bartlett.
Yes.
Ms. Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Mr. McFadden.
Yes.
Mr. Olet.
Yes.
Ms. Seuss.
Yes, thank you. Next item on the agenda, we have a special presentation regarding the pending purchase of 401 Creek Road. We're going to do an informational update, and if you could give me about 2 to 3 minutes to get set up, we'll take a brief recess. We have PowerPoints available out there? Yes. This is going to be a PowerPoint presentation. I'm not sure if you grabbed one of these on your way in or not, but there is a packet so you can follow along with the presentation.
Should we sit down or just turn around?
I could turn around.
Yeah, we just turn around.
It's going to be exactly what's in here, so.
Yeah, and I had already copied it over there. So, I'm sorry, let's see. Okay.
Alrighty. These are pretty good. We could get them open.
I gave up.
Did you? You got to do it like right in the middle. And just tear it open like a wolf.
Yep. And then you can get the lights.
Very good.
Yeah.
It'll be enough. It's Karen's head.
What?
She saw your head.
Oh,
I thought it was me.
go ahead.
Our feature presentation.
Lights, camera, are we back in session?
Yes, we are now back in session. Everybody can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. Delanco Township's purchase of 401 Creek Road. Let me just move this away from me. Okay. This is a overhead drone shot of the property. As you can see in the red here, we have the outline of the property. This is the property line. It's kind of awkward over here, but this is the edge here along the, I guess that's the west side. You have some residential homes here, and then it kind of curves around, down, and over along the softball field. So back here is an area of wetlands that is on the wetlands map. This is the county property here, and then the county trails right there, obviously the creek, and then the Newton's Landing residential homes over here. Okay, 401 Creek Road fact sheet. 401 Creek Road is an 11.54 acre property currently zoned in our industrial zone, I-3. The property borders Delanco Field of Dreams Park, residential properties, and abuts the Rancocas Greenway Trail. It was the only property not included in the earlier planning of the redevelopment of that area adjacent to the creek. Criterion Group, a New York-based real estate company, specializes in commercial outdoor truck storage, purchased the property in 2021 for $2 million. Currently, there are 2 businesses in operation, a machine shop and a power washing company. The property was rezoned by Delanco Township in 2023 from I-2 to I-3, which does not permit warehousing. That was actually an initiative I took on when I joined the Township Committee in 2023. The warehouses had just been built right here along Coopertown Road, and I didn't want to see any more warehouses built. So I led that initiative, spoke with Township Committee, we all got on board, and we rezoned areas where there was industrial, but there was no warehouses where warehouses could be built. So if you had a warehouse, you were grandfathered in. If you didn't, you were rezoned to I-3. Because of that rezoning, we were sued by Criterion Group and Farrow Point, which right next to us is Stylex. Because of that litigation, we entered into a redevelopment settlement agreement. In February of 2024, we settled that agreement in response to the litigation because of the rezoning in 2023. The truck and trailer facility. Criterion received their approvals from the Delanco Joint Land Use Board in October of 24 to build a truck and trailer repair facility and accessory outdoor trailer storage. The plans include clearing the lot of over 700 trees, paving a large parking lot, which there's nothing out there now as far as a parking lot, to accommodate 124 parking spaces for trailers that can be double stacked. There's 19 car spaces approved, 10 vehicle service repair bays. Their plans are to rehab the existing large building that's out there now, to demolish the 2 existing small buildings in the back. They're going to keep the small house in the front there. And they're also going to have the installation of 4 drainage basins per the New Jersey DEP storm regulations. So that's basically what their plans consisted of. And I'll show you in the next slide exactly what that looks like. I also wanted to point out something that's kind of important, that trucks are permitted to be dropped off by tow trucks during the hours of 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. So if a truck breaks down in the middle of the night, they are permitted to be towed there after 11 p.m. and before 7 a.m. That's pretty fancy. Okay. This is this is Criterion's plan for the truck facility. So right here is the existing building. It's, I want to say it's 18,000 square feet. This is the building in the front there that you see from the road when you drive by. The DMV's over here. The buildings in the back would be demolished. This red outline you see here is actually buffering zones, where buffering meaning you have to have trees or bushes there. That would be buffering on all 4 sides. There's actually 2 drainage basins here. This is kind of an older plan. There's one here, and then there's one here. Drainage basin here, and a drainage basin here as well. This Pac-Man looking section here is actually on the DEP website as deciduous wetlands. So that is an area of wetlands here. Not permitted to build on that or disturb that in any capacity. Here's the 120, I think, 8 parking spaces. So this entire piece of property here would be asphalt with trucks. This is an overhead drone shot that I took over the weekend here. Here's the large buildings. That would be the actual truck storage, the truck repair part of it. This building is staying. These buildings back here you can't really see were gone. So this whole area here would be the paved area where the truck storage would be, the trailer storage. Drainage basin, drainage basin, drainage basin, drainage basin. This is kind of a digital mock-up of what the trailers would look like on that piece of property. This is an overhead drone shot, and these were superimposed, so you can kind of get an idea of what it would look like, which kind of looks like across the street over here. Okay, so just to go over a timeline, kind of regroup as how we got to this point. Criterion received approvals again from the Joint Land Use Board in October of '24. Shortly thereafter, the township approached Criterion about purchasing the property. In December of 2024, specifically December 16th, we had an ordinance and a public hearing right here in this building, Ordinance 2024-26, adopting the ordinance for the purchase of the property. Ms. Fitzpatrick, myself, Mr. Templeton, Mr. Bartlett all voted yes. Mr. Ouellette did not vote. He voted no. I'm sorry. He did vote. He voted no. February 3rd of this year, Resolution 2025-37, authorizing the execution of the agreement of sale for the purchase of 401 Creek Road. Mr. Bartlett, Mr. McFadden, myself, Mr. Ouellette voted yes. Ms. Fitzpatrick was absent, but would have voted yes as well, is my understanding. So that was unanimous. February 10th of this year, Delanco is under agreement with Criterion. They executed the contract for $3.5 million. They countersigned. As of February 10th, we had 95 days to perform our inspections, which is called a due diligence period, and our closing date is scheduled for June 10th. 2 weeks ago, April 7th, we had an ordinance and public hearing for the bond, 2025-4, authorizing the acquisition of land and improvements for 401 Creek Road in the amount of $3.6 million. Why is it 3.6, not 3.5? Because we have to have money in order to protect it for security when we purchase it, if we need to put up fencing, and also for our legal fees or any other engineering fees that would be involved. Probably the most important piece of this entire slide here. We got a written appraisal from a commercial appraisal company. As of 10/22/24, the appraised value of this property is $5.3 million. $5.3 million. We're purchasing it for $3.5. Why purchasing 401 is beneficial for Delanco Township? By the way, this is our new seal if you haven't seen that yet. It's pretty fancy. The township will control the future of the property and its use. The township will control the future of the property and its use. We'll control its destiny. We figure out what's going to go there, what's best for the community. There will be no additional tractor trailers on our roads. No truck and trailer repair and storage facility will be built. We preserve the quality of life for the residential areas in the immediate area of the property and throughout the township, honestly. It all boils down to a quality of life issue. We maintain and preserve the Field of Dreams Park and Sports Complex. Our children and families deserve to have nice facilities that are not next to an industrial truck facility. Again, I'll point out we're purchasing the property well below written appraisal value. It's 5.3 minus 3.8. You can do the math. There's 700 trees that are slated to be removed by the current owner. There's plenty of wildlife that live back there. We would preserve the wooded area located directly next to the county, owned by Pennington Park and the Rancocas Greenway Trail, which is visited by many residents. And also residents from out of town, all over the county, come and visit that trail. There'll be no truck pollution and noise from a repair facility if we purchase this. And also, Should point out there's no risk of contamination to the site and the sensitive areas along the Rancocas Creek from a truck repair facility. That was brought up during a joint land use board meeting. There was concerns that tractor trailers leak oil, leak chemicals. How do we know that they're not going to be polluting the storm drains, the basins, and right into the creek, because that's where the storm drains ultimately go. I just showed you the pros. Here's the cons that I could come up with. There's a minimal property tax increase to residents. Sorry. Go back. We have some short-term property maintenance that we'd have to do, as long as we kept the property. And loss of annual tax revenue of $23,317. Also want to point out, $23,000 is not what the township gets. We get 33% of that. The rest of that $23,000 goes to the county, goes to the school, and goes to open space. So we get 33% of $23,000 a year in a property that's 11.5 acres and is assessed at approximately $650,000. Additional benefits. There's a potential land swap that the county is willing to do with us for the wetlands buffer and the adjacent county lot. That's important to point out. Again, there's a little Pac-Man portion of wetlands right here. The county trail is right here. The county has expressed interest in taking on this wetlands portion, so this will be carved out, and preserving it so that they have a nice buffer for their county park and their county trail. This piece of property here, it's about 2.5 acres, right next to our event lawn. This piece of property was not conveyed to us back when this park was done because there was an eagle's nest here, and federal law required there be a 500-foot buffer, so this was in the buffer zone. So the county kept this piece of property, although it should have made sense to give us this whole piece. They had to keep it because of the eagle buffer. Well, the eagles are no longer federally protected, and that land is able to be conveyed to us if the county wishes to do so. We would love to be able to give them the unusable wetlands portion of the property for 2.4 acres that would be usable by the township. Okay, this slide's actually taken from the New Jersey Land Resource website, DEP website, showing the wetlands. So here's the border of the property line of 401, and you'll see here this is what's called the deciduous wood wetlands. It's located in the Tidelands map here. So that is all what I was talking about as far as the wetlands. You can find that online as well. Okay, now I kind of want to get into our budget, what we just kind of talked about and passed this evening. I want to point out some changes this year as to why you're going to have a tax increase, and it's not because we're buying 401 Creek Road. These are our normal day-to-day annual expenses that are going up, revenues that are being lost. So I'm just going to kind of go over one by one here. We have our salary increase of 6.4% or $200,000 because of our additional police officer and also our new full-time administrator. Breaking news, Richard is retiring this year, unfortunately. That's the plan, I think. And we need to hire a full-time administrator to take over for him and to fulfill the needs of the town. We need to have someone here full-time now. There's a lot going on. There's a need for someone full-time, so we have to budget for that. Of course, health insurance benefits are increasing $80,000 for rate increases and then also for the potential of the new additional employees. Our trash collection and disposal increased $35,000. We are going to enter into a new contract this year, and also the rate of disposal is going up at the landfills. We are investing in our parks and our grounds, and we've allocated portion of the public works salary to our operating expenses, and we also decided to pay our portion of what we used to use open space funds out of our operating instead. So now we have our open space funds that are not being utilized or being saved for the potential of us actually buying open space in the future. So it's kind of like a savings account. So that increase is in our operating budget. We have an increase anticipated with our new library contract, so public aid to the library. It's going to be paid to the school district of $21,000 year over year because of some utility sharing. So they have asked for us to incur some more expenses based on what they pay to operate that. We also have our normal increase for uncollected taxes. It's a state formula of $17,000. It covers the amount for those who don't pay the taxes. So the township is the taxing entity. It's the collection entity. It's required to pay all the other taxing entities of the county, the school, and the fire district. Regardless if you pay for that, the township still has to pay your portion. So they pay 100%. So we have to have a reserve just for that. We also budgeted this year for our centennial. We allocated $25,000 to the Centennial Celebration Fund, which is next year. We needed some money this year so we could give deposits to vendors and start that process. So we allocated $25,000. What we didn't allocate, and I thought was important to mention here, is we have a 20% increase in our utility costs here, and as well as all of you. The Bureau of Public Utilities approved a 20% increase in rates. So we did not budget for that, so that's something that we have to allocate for and keep in the back of our mind. So on the revenue side, we have virtually no increases in ratables this year. Why is that? Well, we haven't had any new building. There's been no new houses and no new warehouses. That increase in the ratables was captured over the last few years. So the budget doesn't have the benefit of having that increased tax levy over the larger tax base to help moderate the tax increase. Now, what's a tax levy, you say? The tax levy is how much we need to raise from the township in order to pay our bills. So I believe our tax levy is about 5.4 million something and change. Excuse me. So we have to allocate that to all of you. So that's what the tax levy is. Our New Jersey state aid was reduced back down to numbers from 2022. So it was reduced by $42,000. Our permit fees are down. Obviously, if we're not building and we don't have any commercial, residential building going on, our permit fees are going to be down. So that was reduced by $51,000. Our other license and fees also, attributed to the building, down by $10,000. And our delinquent taxes were lowered to $24,000, or lowered $24,000. Now, what's this crazy chart? This chart is 20 years of tax levies. The percentage changes year over year, what the tax rate is, what the change was. So back in 2005, we only needed to raise $1.9 million from the town to operate because, of course, our town was half the size back then. So you can see year over year it increased as our population increased and our needs increased and our needs for services increased. So last year in 2024, we needed $5,150,000. Okay, this year we need $250,000 more, $5.4 million. So that's what it's looking like for this year. That's what our tax rate is. Last year was 1.147. This year it's proposed, and obviously we just passed it tonight, 1.202, or a 4.8% increase. Next slide. This will actually show you what your assessed value is. So if your house is assessed at the average, which in our town is $190,000, you pay the town, last year you paid the township portion of your taxes was $2,179. This year your township shared portion is $2,284, or $104.50 increase year over year. So you're only paying the township $104 more than you did last year. Okay, just want to talk about some previous projects and initiatives that the township was invested in over the course of probably over 30 years. So the township has, in my mind, an obligation to protect the quality of life in town, right? So just want to point out a couple things. 2700 Burlington Avenue, which is the Distributech warehouse that's on the river right at the railroad tracks. It was slated to become a cargo ship container port facility. The township spent money, taxpayer dollars, to fight the proposal to make sure our township did not become a port similar to what Gloucester City is today. Can you imagine having large cargo liners unloading their cargo containers in our backyard? That's crazy to me. So the township fought to make sure that did not happen. Winsinger, right over here where the solar field is, it was a trash dump facility before. They proposed a recycling facility for demolition debris, concrete, asphalt, masonry, tires. So if you go out to the Mount Holly bypass at the end there where 38 is, that's what their facility is, Marne Highway. It is a concrete crushing facility. They wanted to put that right here in Delanco, right over here where the solar field is. That was fought by the township. The township did what they had to do to fight that, and it is now a solar field. 2005, as we all know, Zerberg Mansion, or maybe you don't know, it was purchased by the township for $2.1 million. They purchased the property, so it did not become a juvenile facility for troubled youth. It was proposed that that parcel hold children that were incarcerated and were trying to be rehabilitated. Township received word on Christmas Eve that year, and they filed an emergency injunction to stop that from happening. So they purchased it for 2.1. They went ahead and resold it, and I believe it was for 1.8 for the mansion, and then they resold the carriage house for 300,000. And they were able to keep the land that is now Waterfront Park. So it was kind of a win-win. So today, it's home to 27 low-income senior apartments. Win-win, right? The township also fought DEP to protect the West Avenue dunes from continuing to be a dredge spoils dumping site. That was a big project. I know Kate was involved in that. I think Fern was around for that. Otherwise, you're going to have trucks coming up and down that road, dumping stuff from the river, and it was just going to be a nightmare. So they fought, and I think Mr. Templeton was up in that as well, to stop that from happening. 2020, township purchased 414 Rancocas Avenue, which is the lot next to Gateway Park. It's that empty lot there. $60,000 for park expansion. So you now have doubled the size of that park. In 2020 as well, they purchased 200 Ash Street. That was that shoe factory, canvas factory on the river. I'm sorry, on the creek. We bought that for $200,000 and demoed it with engineering costs for another $210,000. The township has acquired lots in many different ways for Hawk Island to prevent that from being developed. A lot of that was privately owned, so it had the potential for being developed. So the township went ahead and purchased those properties so it could be preserved, and now is open for public access. And there's a beautiful area back there. If you haven't checked it out, please do. There's some great new signage back there too for the trails. And then last year we have the historic Waterfront Park seawall, which AKA is Zerberg Mansion. Installation of that seawall has been completed, and now we're in the second phase of the park. The project's been in the works for about 18 plus years. Several bonds were approved, totaling about $1.2 million, and that doesn't include all the legal fees, design and engineering and permitting costs over the years. So again, you can see that the township has invested taxpayer income for many, many years to protect the quality of life. It may not, affect you personally, it might not be in your neighborhood, but we are a community, and we have to invest in our community to keep it nice and to keep people from wanting to move here. People want to come to a nice community that has nice assets and has good infrastructure. So what's the plan, right? That's the question. What are we going to do if we purchase this property? So I'm going to read this, and this is what I can say about it. The township is permitted to purchase property, particularly in the rehabilitation and redevelopment context, to ensure that property is put to an appropriate use. Right now, 401 is in the rehabilitation zone. Purchasing this property does not mean we have to hold on to it forever or even a year. The township can rezone the property to a more appropriate use, likely some form of residential use with no impact to the schools. We do not intend to keep it in an industrial zone. This is no different than what happened with Zerberg Mansion in 2005. The township prevented a negative use and eventually returned it all but the waterfront to the market. The township anticipates it will return most of this property to the market as well, and likely retain the wetlands portion to allow for the county land swap, as I mentioned. And finally, there's no intent to preserve or otherwise permanently restrict this property as open space. Once you designate it as open space, you are married to that. It can never be changed. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you for listening and taking the time to gain a better understanding as to why the township thinks purchasing 401 Creek Road is a benefit to our residents.
Thank you, Carolyn, for that presentation. I found it to be very thorough and great explanation.
Does anyone have anything on the committee that they would like to talk about or bring up or comment on regarding that presentation and the purchase of 401?
I think you covered everything that would benefit the town, the entire town, and to limit any additional truck traffic. And even though the other side of that road has some different truck facilities, this particular property is lodged between residential housing and our fields for our youth. So it's not like it's really the same thing, totally different, lodging it in there. So that's how I feel. I think it would benefit the town. It's not like we're going to hold on to this purchase just to keep it. I mean, it's going to give us a good return on our money, and just like we did with the Zerbrook Mansion, which when we sold that for redevelopment, we got a good tax benefit from the townhouses around it, and it really didn't hurt the look of the Zerbrook Mansion. It's still a jewel in town, and as Carolyn stated, there's 27 senior, low, moderate, affordable senior units there that give us credits towards our affordable housing. So that is a real benefit to not only the town, but to senior residents who are low and moderate income. So I just think that this is a win-win for Delanco to be able to decide the use of this property. And it is a large sum of money, and but it will come back as a return for us. And it's not like we're going to be putting it all out at once. Hopefully, the return will come back within a short period of time. So I think that we have made other decisions in town to preserve some lands, to purchase some lands for the benefit of the residents, and I think this is one of those times when we're doing this. So I agree with it. I thank Carolyn for the presentation, because if you have any further questions, I'm sure she'll open it up for that, but that's my take on the whole thing.
I also just want to point out from a financial aspect, I think maybe the misconception is that we're buying this for $3.5 million and we're paying $3.5 million this year and you're being taxed on $3.5 million. No. When you have a bond, you're only required to put down a down payment of 5%. So that's what's in our budget right now. And we only have to pay in the interest portion of the loan for 3 years before we're required to pay principal. And this is also a useful life of 40 years, so it could be taken out and financed over 40 years if we wanted to. So there's not a huge hit to the taxpayers because of this purchase. It is amortized 40 years. And if we wanted to do that, we could. Again, that's, like I mentioned, not our plan. This is a very short-term investment. And I think it makes sense. You know, if we were to, you know, it's appraised at $5.3 million. If we were to, you know, turn around and sell it for $5 million, what does that look like as far as the profit? Where does the profit go? Well, the profit gets turned back to the township and put in our surplus. And in my mind, you would take a little bit of that surplus every year to prevent any more tax increases. That's what we do every year. We take, regardless of 401, we take surplus every year and put it towards our budget so that we don't have to increase taxes as much. So that would only help our case, that if we did turn around and sell it, we put the money back in our surplus, there wouldn't be, you know, significant tax increases, because that would help offset future costs. So I just want to point that out too. Matt, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, we're looking to purchase this for 1.8, if I'm doing my math correctly, 1.8 million below what it's appraised. That
Yes.
number alone is a reason to do this. The other thing I was looking at over the last week or so, looking at where this is located on the creek, and looking from Delanco on the main stretch of the creek, from Delanco through all the creek towns to once it narrows down into Mount Holly, you don't have any industrial facility like this on either side of the creek at all. And there's a reason, because it's not meant to have an industrial facility of this type on the creek. The only thing somewhat close to this is, I think it's a car repair place somewhere in Mount Holly on the south branch of the creek, of barely a fraction of the size. And that's it. There just is no industrial on the creek. And you could fact check me if you want. Take a look on Google Maps, drive it. There's nothing out there.
Phil, do you have anything?
Thank you for the presentation. As you know, I came in at the latter part because this had started before I had come onto the committee. After looking at everything, reviewing it, seeing the cost that it's going to cost the residents, I feel it's sort of a no-brainer. I hate to use that term. But I think it's going to benefit the whole township at large. That's
Yeah.
why I jumped on.
I honestly think it's a win-win. So just to summarize, like, just the key points as in my brain why we're buying this. We're buying it to rezone it to something more appropriate. We're buying it under market value significantly. It's going to preserve the quality of life for our whole town. We don't have a truck repair facility. I don't know. It just seems like a win-win to me.
And this isn't a truck repair facility like,
Right.
Safety Auto.
No.
This is a fleet truck repair facility where tractor trailers are going to be coming in 24/7. It's going to look like an Amazon warehouse of all tractor trailers out there just coming in to get fixed.
And the argument that, oh, they're only going to come down Creek Road is invalid because they come from all three ways in town. We see them every day. They come down Burlington Avenue. They come down in Coopertown. They're not just going to come in from Creek Road. That would make too much sense, but that's just not the way it works. Anybody else have anything else they want to say? Okay.
It was
Well-
a great, very nice presentation. Well done. The figures that you're sharing now, wish they would have come out sooner. The 5.4 million on the appraisal,
5.3?
or 5.3, which was shared in executive, but either through my own fault of not seeing the appraisal myself. The information does make a difference. Having the voters of this town vote to approve the $3.5 million bond is important. When we went through our hearings and folks came in and said, why doesn't it go to referendum to spend that kind of money? And the residents of this town should have a voice and be able to vote for that kind of money and that kind of expenditure. If the voters decide that, yes, this is a good thing to do, then they have the opportunity through the voting process to say, yes, this is where we want our tax dollars to go. If they say no, then it would be no. But again, the presentation that you gave this evening was very informative.
Thank you. I just want to point out that I don't remember in any public comment session anyone ever bringing up the fact that it should be voted on in referendum. Anybody else remember that?
No.
No, and on that, we are not a direct representative government. We are represented. The public at large does not vote on every single thing. That's why they elect us as a township committee. If we're going to put everything out, where's the cutoff with, okay, I understand it's 3.5. There's a lot of expensive things on our budget. Should we put on a referendum or the ballot in November the chief's 16th officer? Should we, what else do we have? Our EMS, that's not mandatory. In New Jersey, emergency medical services, ambulance service, it's not a essential service according to the state of New Jersey. Should we stop paying for that now and put that on our a referendum or November ballot or whatever ballot? Our library, that's a big portion of the budget. That's not used by the entire town. That's $112,000 we have in our budget. That's a big number. That's one of the biggest numbers on our budget. Should we put that on our ballot? You
Right.
elect us as the township committee to make these decisions. If you don't like our decisions, when we're up for election, you vote us out. That's what we're here for. We're here to make the decisions, so you are not, and we make the decisions after having public hearings on these things. And we've had public hearings on these things. And we, as the committee, voted on these things, and including Mr. Ouellette, who voted yes to enter into the contract on this thing, on this purchase, who's now saying this should go out to a public vote. So we're speaking out both sides of our mouth here, respectfully, Fern, where you're voting yes on the contract, but then you're saying the public should vote on it.
Right.
That's my opinion.
Right,
Yeah.
we are not a school board set, like the school board is set up to where if they want to do a large project, they're forced to go out to referendum. They are not allowed to have the same power that we have. They're totally different things. So for people to say like, oh, well, we should just vote on it like we did the school, not the same thing. This is unheard of for something to go to referendum like this in this type of situation for a township.
And let me ask this question, just by show of hands, just an unofficial poll. If we were going to spend $6 million on if the town was going to, if there were taxpayer dollars, we're going to spend $6 million to purchase a property in Mount Laurel, would you want to vote on it? Just raise your hands if you think you'd want to vote on that. As a taxpayer in Delanco, should we spend $6 million? Yeah. Anyone? I imagine the majority of the. How many people went to the Burlington County meeting and objected to a $6 million purchase that this county did with your taxpayer money to purchase a property in Mount Laurel for the expansion of athletic fields at RCBC 8 years ago that is still a piece of grass that they haven't done a thing on? Did anybody here go and object to that? Did anybody?
No.
Anyone in this room?
I didn't.
When the county spent $415,000 plus demolition costs on a property in Pemberton on Route 530 for a temporary construction laydown area in 2016, which is now just a piece of grass. Spent $415,000 plus a couple $100,000 demolition. Did anyone in this room object to that? Because it doesn't affect you, but your taxpayer dollars, your county tax paid for it. Your county taxes also paid in 2012 $1.675 million for a public works garage on Rancocas Road by the bypass for a little over 2 acres. And I don't imagine anyone in this room went to the county commissioners meeting or the freeholders meeting at that time and objected to that, because it was for the good of the entire county. Just like this purchase is for the good of the entire township, not just a little section.
While we're on the topic of that, on our Delanco Township website, we have a history board timeline. And on January 24th, 2007, the Burlington County freeholders voted to purchase 3 additional acres of open space on the Rancocas Creek adjacent to Newton's Landing and near Pennington Park. They paid $745,000 for 3 acres, which became part of the Rancocas Greenway Trail. So quick math, that's $248,000 an acre in 2007. 18 years later, we're buying, or slated to buy, 11.5 acres for $304,000 an acre. So only about $50,000 more an acre 20 years later is what we're paying for property in the same area. Anybody else? I'll open this meeting to the public for comments and questions. Again, we will be limiting comments to 5 minutes per person, 1 appearance only per person as well. You cannot yield your time to anyone else. Please adhere to the rules that Mrs. Lohr read earlier about our public comment session. When you come up to the podium, please state your name and address, and I will open this now. I should point out this is session 1. There'll be a session 2 at the end of the meeting as well. Good evening, Scott.
Scott Buke, 18 Pennington Court. First of all, I want to thank for the microphones. I remember on the first land use board meeting that I went to that involved this project, nobody could hear anything. Nobody could hear what the group from New York wanted to say. The board was really not interested in what the public wanted to say. So thank you for getting this straightened out. Carolyn, great information. And what's the plan really lays it out. You took a lot of my notes away, that's for sure. To the chief, to the ring, it sounds like we have a ring on our front door and we get all the messages. I think there should be consideration of adding to the police force because it goes off into the Willingboro and very broad area that we don't really care about, but we get it on our ring, and we need good police protection, and we have it, but probably anticipate more. I did a lot of research over the past week when I found out this was going to happen, and something City Feet on the internet. Now it includes both locations, the one across the street and 401, but 401 is much larger, and they say up to 773. Now I'll say that 401 is at least twice the size, so I would say probably over 500 trucks. Just the fact that they're going to be potentially double stacked, and you've got the playing fields and the kids there, that's just a crazy thought that can even come about. The other thing is they put on here, reach US 130 within a 3-minute drive and enjoy easy access to I-295, which we deal with when you're going through, and I don't know the road, but through Willingboro and Creek Road. Creek Road is a zoo and the whole intersection, and of course the county won't spend any money on the jug handle. I also found out, going back to 2015, there was an article, it was 2 years after the fire, and there was an election going on, and Fern and Mike were up against John Brown and Bob Dovey, I guess, don't know either one of them. But some of the comments was, the Shade Tree Commission came up, and how's the Shade Tree Commission stand on cutting all the lumber down over here in 401? Have they stood up and said anything for us?
Not particularly on the Shade Tree's behalf that I know of.
Okay, I was just wondering. But it mentions in here, Democrat Ouellette said he wants to maintain local services without being overly burdensome on some taxpayers. Yes. Obviously, we want to keep the taxes in check and continue to invest in public works and the police department, he said. Money's tight, but we still need to maintain our town, quote. Ouellette also said he would continue to pursue ongoing Field of Dreams project, which includes sports fields and related facilities, which has been done. And savoring that, I guess, too, there was the saving on West Avenue, the property that it didn't get dredged, which I guess is where that ship was going to be or whatever.
No, that was the West Ave Dunes you're talking about.
So it was kind of, I guess Mike and Fern also stressed the dunes as a triumph not to be squandered. I agree. I wasn't even aware of the property up there. And we do need to get our voices heard more up in Trenton. So, I mean, the history shows support for this kind of purchase and backing. And as you were saying, too, and I'm not even going to go to the rest of my notes, but I guess there is one question. If this has to come up to a vote, if it gets to that point, what's the cost to the town?
Rough estimates between $70,000 to $90,000 for a special election.
And that comes out of the yearly budget or however factored in? I mean, that doesn't
Well, it wasn't factored in this year's budget.
Okay. And I guess just my final point is, I agree, you are a board, the same way as the land use board voted to, as far as I'm concerned, lowered the standards of the property and allowed it to become what criterion wants it to be. It is your position to protect the people of this town for what is best for this town. And hopefully you will do that. Well, from what I'm hearing, you will, most of you will do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Feel free to come up. I think this gentleman's coming up. Tim, you can go after.
Mike O'Donnell, 17 Emery Way. As a real estate agent and a real estate investor myself, first off to the chief, clients of mine, buyers, looking to communities, one of their questions is, how safe is the community? What's the police force like? I came from Cinnaminson, terrific police force, and one of our decisions to come into Delanco was to make sure that we were going to be protected like we were in Cinnaminson. Thank you.
Thank you.
As a real estate person, if we let this go, it's an opportunity. The seller has the right to put it back on the market and go with somebody else, if he wants to do that. They have control of where it's going to go. So, as an investor in real estate, I see an opportunity, I grab it. And here we have an opportunity to make some money on a property. Why would we not take that chance? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I think Mr. Kishler's up next, Carl.
Tim Kishler, 12 Harris Court. I'm sorry.
Hi, Tim. How are you?
Good, thanks. My partner here and I are here once again tonight to join with many of our Delanco neighbors in support of the proposed initiative for the township to purchase the lot at 401 Creek Road. Acquiring this property would ensure that its future use be determined by those who are entrusted to act on behalf of the entire Delanco community. Failing to do so would allow this to be left up to an out-of-state business enterprise with resultant commercial activity that is likely to run counter to the best interests of those of us who enjoy living here. As such, the property tax dollars used by the township for this purpose would be money well spent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Tarashi?
Thank you. I appreciate the comments from all of the board members and the slideshow that was given by our mayor. But I would like to respond briefly to the first speaker who wondered why this project was allowed.
Carl, could you just state your name and address for the record?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thank you.
Carl Tarosky, 55 Pennington Court. I am a member of the Joint Land Use Board. And when that application came before our board, we were restricted to the zoning at that time, which we do not place the zoning in any place. It's the board of the township that places the zoning. Once that zoning was designated at that time, we had to work with the applicant within the boundaries of that zone. And therefore, that is why they were allowed to do what they were allowed to do. Now that the zoning has changed, it's entirely different. And I certainly agree with the board's decision to further proceed in buying this property. And in doing so, I was just wondering if there are any grants that were available to help us buy this space.
We did not come across any grants. We had individuals reach out to the county to see if they would be willing to go in on the purchase as well, and they were not in any position to purchase any land. So it was explored. We didn't find any. Obviously, open space has their low interest loans and can offer grants, but then we would be restricted to open space forever. So that's not something we would entertain.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Carl, on that point about the land use board being restricted because you had that application, the land use board never proactively did anything to change the zoning in their master plan, make a recommendation to remove warehouses. So the township committee had to do it, and that's why the township was sued, and we had to settle and have that plan go to the joint land use board. In all fairness, it's not the township. The land use board should be proactive in making recommendations for zoning in the town. That's what we pay our professionals for on the land use board, the town planner, or the land use board planner.
Certainly, that's an opinion that should be shared with the board. And I do not speak for the board itself. I only speak for myself.
Understood.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tarashi. Anyone else? Yes, please come up, Michelin Wine. Just state your name and address.
Joanne Schlinwine, 316 Oakford Avenue.
Could you just pull the microphone down?
Thank you.
Thank you.
First, I thank all of you for your time and dedication to this town. I attended every one of your budget meetings, and I can't say enough of all I learned from the commitment and dedication from all of you and your staff. It is amazing the process and the dialogue and conversation that you all had to prepare for this. And the one thing that came very clear to me was the term strategic planning. When the information was given on the deficits from buildings and permits and how that has been used, those funds were used to offset continuing increases, was eye-opening. I looked at this application. I attended, I think, 3 of the 4 land use meetings, trying to educate myself better on the way township government is run. And I don't hear much about strategic planning. So I looked at this purchase as that. Mr. Schwab has been an incredible gift to me in better understanding budgets. And I even tried to bribe him to volunteer to come help with the school district, but he doesn't like the cookies I make. Knowing the $23,000 plus and knowing it's a 34% going to the municipality, and hearing the discussions during the budget meetings and thinking about the federal push for density housing, the state push for density housing, thinking about the impacts on our school district, and then in turn, listening to all of you talk about age restriction, I took a breath, right? Because most of the public comments are negative towards our school system and how we conduct business. And I felt this peace come about me. There would be no impact, so probably, hopefully, no nastiness, the continued nastiness. So I look at this as strategic planning. It's way more than the $23,100 and some dollars with that 33%, with the control of it. The preservation on that property is very emotional to me. It was disheartening. It was very emotional with the last 3 land use meetings on the conversation of 401 and actually thinking about the animals, the wildlife. I don't trust nothing going into the waterway. So I look at this as a positive, and I look at it as strategic planning moving forward because we don't have the properties. I think on the budget, there was a notation of 40 available lots, but that doesn't mean for residential. It could mean that I own my side property that could be developed, but not necessarily allowed to develop. So I didn't hear that word for strategic planning, and I think for me, that's what I got out of attending those meetings. The one question I have, and I apologize actually to you, Mayor, if is this parcel now in a rehab zone, or that's what you're moving towards? Because you had mentioned about rehab zone in your presentation.
So it is in a rehabilitation zone that was part of the settlement agreement.
Oh, okay.
So it is an area designated in need of rehabilitation.
Okay. Thank you very much to all. Thank you.
Thanks, Joanne.
And I do like that word, strategic planning.
Yeah.
It's a good way to put it. There's not a lot of land left in Delanco to be developed. And I don't foresee, I don't have a crystal ball, but I don't foresee 11 and a half acre opportunity ever coming before this township again. It is an investment. It's an investment in our township's future. Whether it affects you directly or not, I don't think it's an appropriate place for a truck facility. It's better suited for residential. It should have been done a long time ago. It's not, just that side of Creek Road is not something that should be industrial. You have a park, you have the creek, you have residential. I'm beating a dead horse at this point, but it's just, it's better suited for residential. And if you do build residential, if the township does eventually decide to rezone it and sell it to a developer, the implications for revenue would be in the 3 digits, way over $100,000 in tax revenue would be coming to this town. I couldn't even tell you how much it is because it's something that the assessor would have to, go into details. But I did have a conversation with him today, funny enough. He told me a similar town in South Jersey, he just did an assessment for 120 apartments. The assessed value was $15 million. Right now, the land that we have is assessed at $650,000. So when you do a commercial assessment, you factor in rents, you factor in expenses, and a whole bunch of other things, and that's how you come up with the assessed value. So ultimately, the township is making an investment in the town for better zoning, for a better rateable, for something more appropriate that would bring in way more tax revenue. I don't understand the pushback that I've been hearing that this is just a crazy purchase. It's really not. I'm a business person. I own my own business. My husband and I have owned our own business for close to 30 years. I'm also a real estate agent. I also have a finance background. Many of the other, committee members have backgrounds in businesses. Matt owns his own business. Kate has worked in law for 40 years. We do have a good sense of what's going on. We're not just Joe Schmo. So, when we presented this plan to our professionals and when I told the tax assessor what was going on, he goes, "Oh my God, it's a win-win-win. It's such a better investment for this town. The rateable would be incredible. And we don't have any low-income housing, units to pursue either. So it would be a fully taxable situation there. So, anybody else have any public comment? Yes, Mr. Burke.
You only live across the street from us.
We kind of know who you are.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Madam Mayor and Mr. Immediate Past Mayor, Todd Burke, 1506 Second Street. And I say that again for everyone because I want you to know that I'm passing around a petition opposing this debt incurrence, and I'll tell you why. First of all I've heard is pipe dream real estate speculation with our tax dollars. And Mr. Bartlett, I find your comparisons to what happened in Burlington County to be especially specious because I can assure you that had I known about that, I would have appeared at the appropriate committees to protest that as well. And I'll tell you why. Because that's the problem. This was not publicized well enough. It was a done deal before any of this was brought to the attention of the public. And transparency is the key here. All of the benefits that I've seen, even laid out in this nice presentation, are highly speculative. What isn't speculative is the bump in tax rates that we're all going to suffer and continue to suffer. All of the benefits that you've listed are a pipe dream. They're hopes. You're speculating with taxpayer money. This nice presentation, and it was great, should have been done and announced to the public before any agreement of sale was considered. And that's the real problem here, is that people other than Newton's Landing are going to be affected by this in terms of tax bills and gain no benefit from it. I don't see any impact that this truck repair facility is going to have on Creek Road that hasn't already been incurred by all of the people and all of the drivers on Creek Road already because of what's been done, that the failure to preserve Creek Road and Bridgeboro Road for years and years and years. So I think that this property's been underassessed. I think that that the land use board has been wrong in what they, I don't know how they work, and I admit that. I don't know much about any of how this works, but to assess a $3.6 million property as if it was, and I don't care if it's commercial or residential, at $2/3 and again, I repeat, somebody fell down on that job. What you're doing is you're lowering the tax base and you're increasing the tax rates that we're all going to suffer from, and that's why it is that I would like the public, before this is done, and this is an extraordinary event. It's a one-of-a-kind, once-in-a-lifetime extraordinary event. It should have been brought to the public. It should have had a presentation. We should have had this kind of back and forth before this sort of done deal was jammed down our throats at a December 16th meeting, which, according to my calculations, is days before Christmas when no one was paying attention to what was going on anyway. And that's the problem here. So, again, I think that the benefits are few and speculative, to say the least, and I'd say that the detriment is going to, I don't view it as win-win at all. I view it as lose-lose, quite frankly. We're losing tax base, and we're losing any kind of hold on our taxes, which are going to go up anyway as a result of this particular project. And that's why I've been opposing it from the beginning, and that's why I'm still standing with my petition to bring a public referendum that hopefully will result in a public referendum to discuss the nature of this purchase, and we can really talk about concrete benefits, not real estate speculation. Everyone that comes up is involved with real estate and thinks it's a great deal, except no, we're not outbidding someone and paying $3.6 million for property that someone else is going to buy for $5.3. That's a guess. There isn't a bidding war going on over here. We're paying almost double for a property. Your numbers are great, but we're paying almost double for a property that was sold at less than 4 years ago. So
Mr.
in
Burke,
my mind, it's not a bargain. In my mind, it's getting ripped off, and that's what I think is happening
the
here.
$5.3 million appraisal is a written appraisal, not
Yes.
speculation.
And where is that? Where is that, Madam
You can
Mayor?
open that. You can Oprah that. It's public record. There's a written appraisal.
See, every time I'm told to Oprah that, okay, I find this stuff out a week or, well, it just really is a week because Miss Laura is terrific about this stuff. I find out about this stuff after things have been passed. All right, so there's a $5.3 million appraisal. Who's offering to buy the property for that much? Nobody. Nobody other
it's
than...
not for sale.
Nobody is offering to buy the property for 3.6.
It wasn't
except
for sale.
us.
It wasn't for sale. The property was never on the
That's
market.
exactly what an appraisal is,
That's-
Mr. Burke.
Then fine. Then don't buy it.
And I
Don't
think
buy
it's-
it for $1.8 million under appraised value?
Yeah, don't buy it.
Okay.
Don't buy it with my dollars. If
Thank
you
you.
want to buy it, you raise the money and you buy it, okay?
Thank you for your
Not with my
comments.
tax dollars.
Okay, appreciate your
And
comments.
I think it's a bit disingenuous that you said December 16th, nobody knew about anything.
It was a packed
Were you
house.
here? Were you in this room that day?
Yeah, I was.
Do you remember that every single seat, more than tonight, was filled? It was standing room only.
Right.
So it's disingenuous, Mr. Burke.
I acknowledge that.
So what you just said was disingenuous.
And was after the agreement was struck.
That
No.
was the public
It
hearing.
was a public hearing. No agreement
That's
was signed
exactly why I
until
was here.
February.
Your facts are messed up, Mr. Burke, respectfully. They're all available on the website. You could look at the minutes,
The
you could look
agreement
at the
was signed
videos.
February
It's all
10th.
there.
You quote to me looking at YouTube one more time, all right?
I literally said for the
Honestly,
first
that is
time.
so insulting, Matt. It's insulting.
It's
Well,
insulting
perhaps
to
it would
watch
help
the
jog your
meeting.
memory, sir.
Yeah, it's the
Respectfully.
meeting. I think it's a
and you're
great
telling
thing,
me-
actually.
And you're telling me,
to watch the whole meeting.
I say that to you one more time. I have not said that to you. That was the first time I said that to you right now.
Anyone else?
Al Grabov, 1605 Second Street. As you can see, common sense is not so common with everyone. This was a real estate transaction, and I'm sure everybody has bought a house or rented a house at some point in time, and you know you're given a certain amount of time. So this was in December 16th, according to Mr. Burke, which would be 11 months and a couple of days away from another election. So if it went to referendum, we would have never made it. We would have lost the deal as the town. Mr. Burke also said it was underassessed. Last I checked, 5.3 is overassessed than what we're purchasing it for 3.5. But everybody needs to be corrected every now and then.
Well, assessed value and appraised value are different things.
Being on recreation last year at our Easter egg hunt, myself, yourself, Mr. Bartlett, Mr. McFadden, excuse me,
Kate?
Mr. Patrick, are running through the woods after a child decided to just run through the woods. Now, if this truck repair facility was there, he'd be running on the truck repair facility's lot. God forbid something happened to that kid. Now, I know we all sustained injuries trying to find that child at the day, which leads me to how many police were there. A ton of cops came. Brought in the dogs to find this kid. We found him in one of the ponds or creeks that were there on the property. So we don't need any more cops, because we would have just found him without you. Makes no sense. People keep on focusing on Newton's Landing. This is nothing about Newton's Landing. This is about the entire town. The whole entire town gains things from this, because the money that we can make when it's sold well outweighs what we're going to buy it for. We get $23,000 in tax revenue from there, which is about $7,700, our cut. Somebody that's going to come in and possibly build age-restricted housing there is not going to affect our school district, which is maxed out from bad decisions from people on the school board. Most contractors that come in will build a house with 64 houses on it. Say on average, $5,000 in taxes. So we're going to $320,000. So just rounding up, it's $100,000 the township makes, which is well over $7,000. This is literally a no-brainer. I don't understand why people don't understand this. Now, if this deal doesn't go through, will the township be sued?
We could be.
Okay. So if it's sued, who accrues that money? Will it go on our taxes possibly? If we're sued for hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars? Our taxes are going to go up without even gaining anything. That's great. Perfect. Funny thing is, I'm not going to call people out by name, but I know for a fact there's 3 attorneys in this room. You would think they're smart. Apparently they're not. They have the ability to do the research that all of you have done. And I want to thank Mr. McFadden, Mr. Bartlett, Mayor Seuss, Ms. Fitzpatrick. I know for a fact how much time you put in this. I'm married to you. So it's affected our lives immensely. I also want to thank Vern. He's got a lot of time in this too. Passing around a petition without doing his research. When he says, you have to tell him what the thing is worth. He could have personally taken his resources instead of going around the town, asking for votes, signatures, whatever it may be, and do a little more research and find out about the property. Instead of basically wasting people's time. You voted for this deal to go through. Now you're rescinding. So you're putting the township at risk by getting your people to sign, but being sued. You're just going to take money out of my pocket, not yours. So,
Thank you. Your 5 minutes is up.
yeah, I'm sure it is. Thank you, everyone.
Anybody else?
Bill.
Hi, Bill.
There you go.
Bill Matalevich, 304 Center Avenue, Delanco.
Hi.
Hi, I'm also a member of the Shade Tree Commission, as well as a planning board, joint land use board. I just want to correct the record that I brought up several times the value of the trees on that property. There's some magnificent old-growth trees on that property. That alone makes it worth it to me to purchase the property. I would recommend that the township strongly consider preserving a large portion of the property as open space, prevent it from being considered for affordable housing. And the last thing I want to know is, as part of the due diligence, the environmental assessment, that determine whether there was any environmental liabilities on the property?
I don't understand. What was the last part of your question?
Could you speak a little?
Were there any environmental liabilities?
Oh, we're still in that process. They're still evaluating.
They're still doing the testing
We're
and
still in
whatnot.
that 95-day period. They're still doing their testing. We haven't gotten any environmental reports back yet.
I voted against the original proposal in the land use board because they had not completed the due diligence. So I think the township needs to see that before they close on the deal.
So they did do a phase 1, and we do have a copy of that. So we're basing our inspections based upon what their phase 1 did, and there's some ongoing stuff, but they did do a phase 1.
Is that available for review?
Is that public record, anyone?
No.
No, it's not
That-
public
that has
record
been
right now.
asked, and the attorney said at this time, it is not public record, it's part of the
Transaction.
legal transaction.
It's not available for public record yet, but we
Okay.
have a copy of it. The engineer has a copy of it as well.
So they're doing soil and groundwater sampling?
I'm not sure exactly what's involved in that. I know they're going back and forth about what exactly needs to be done there.
Our engineer is working on it, Bill, to actually do a full engineer's report
Yeah.
for our environmental. I think their report had some flaws.
Yeah.
So we're not just taking
We're
their
definitely doing
report.
our
We're doing
our
a very
due dis-
thorough.
Yes.
Because we're certainly not going to purchase something that has some environmental issues
Right.
without having taken care of.
You have to protect your investment.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
And then we have you on the agenda to do your grant presentation at the end,
Oh, okay.
if you could stick around for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Just a name and address, please.
Rob Dancer, 1006 Hickory Street. Good evening.
Good
I
evening.
realize that we're already at the end stages, and there's really no turning back at this point. I watched the past meetings, and thank you, Matt, for the timestamps. It was clear that many residents had the same concerns I do, but it was clear the decision was already made and public input was never going to sway it. Even if I had spoken up earlier, I doubt it would have mattered. Tonight is simply just my opportunity to go on the record in opposition. From what I've seen, this does not appear to be a widely supported idea outside of the committee and the Newton's Landing residents. I understand there's no legal requirement for a public vote, and at the time, as it's a time-sensitive nature of a real estate deal, but this is a one-time large expenditure. I've yet to see the true urgency from the town as a whole that justifies this. I've heard the vague ideas for the property, but nothing concrete. If this is about storage or meeting space that was mentioned previously, surely there are cheaper options than this. While I appreciate the appraised value is $5.4 million, and thank you for letting us know that tonight, and if the plan is to rezone it and flip it, what happens if the market turns? I don't know if anybody's paying attention, but things are looking a little bit more risky to go ahead with rush into real estate purchases this time. There's been no talk of any kind of contingency plan or risk when it comes to that, so that's a little bit concerning as well. Promoting this as a speculative investment was not what I was expecting here tonight. At a bare minimum, taxpayers deserve a specific plan before you take our money. If I recall correctly, it was known what the properties on Ash Street and Rancocas had plans for parks prior to acquisition. I couldn't justify this kind of decision in my own household, taking on debt equal to a third of our annual budget without a clear plan or accounting for lost tax revenue. In a time when families are cutting back, it's irresponsible to increase tax obligations without intense scrutiny. This is about hiring more police officers or fixing public infrastructure. There's no clear benefit to the entire town. Frankly, I'm not even sure if all Newton's Landing truly benefits from this. One thing I noted during the presentation was that the plans for the property appeared even less worrisome than I was envisioning. I keep hearing concerns about traffic and the environment, but I've seen no evidence a repair facility would cause a significant increase in traffic. If you truly believe there are still environmental risks after the developers spend $2 million to address them, that raises serious questions about how effective our existing regulations and other checks that we have in place are, and what is your plan to fix that? I'm not totally against this idea. I would prefer that it went to a vote for the entire town. I also believe that we are purchasing this without a specific plan presented to the public. Lastly, I'll say this. When I purchased our home, one of the major factors that was the open area next to our house. It gives the open feel to the neighborhood. I spoke to our neighbor that owns it and is assuring to know that she does not want to see it developed. However, if something were to happen in the future, I'm grateful to know that the township will take on debt to block any development in that lot, and that will greatly benefit the quality of life of the Dancer household and our neighbors. Thank you.
Rob, one thing you said, that the owner of the lot spent $2 million to address environmental issues already?
In the December 16th meeting, Fern said that he had spoken with about the plan, correct? And there's a plan for $2 million.
Oh, to do the stormwater management.
Yes.
That has nothing to do
and
with
the
environmental
retention
issues.
basins.
Okay.
That's how much it would cost to do, when they do the truck repair facility, the
Okay,
stormwater
so
portion would be 2
the
million.
environmental concerns that we're worried about, what is not already in existing regulations or codes or what, are we just?
It's just part of a standard due diligence period when you buy commercial
No.
property.
What I'm saying is the environmental concerns that we're being presented with, why this is such an urgent matter.
Oh,
Are
you're
these
talking
not
about
already
those.
addressed in existing regulations, codes, anything?
Well, there's stormwater basins.
Okay, but we're
Who's testing
addressing
them?
stormwater issues.
Who's testing the basins to make sure they're not being contaminated?
Well, right, so this is something that we should work with the state to get laws on the books for, or laws we already have on the books?
Couldn't tell you.
Okay, so we seem to be saying there's a problem, but what about if
I'm
something
sure
else
there's
gets
laws,
developed
but
in the
who's
area?
going to enforce them? Are they going to be out there every week
That's the
making
DEP to
sure? That's the
enforce laws.
DEP.
That should go with every property in town, right?
Sure.
So I don't understand why this specific one is, we're saying that's one of the problems, is the
Well,
pollution.
one of the issues is how close it is to wetlands in the creek.
Again, if we don't have laws on the books, then what are we doing about that?
We have laws on the books about everything. It doesn't mean that they're followed.
Or effective. And Ash Street and Rancocas Avenue did not have any kind of park plans when they were purchased. They were
They did not.
purchased for standard
Okay, and as
municipal
I
use.
said, that's why I understood it. That's
Yeah.
why I remembered it, because I could have sworn before we purchased those properties, there was talk
No,
about.
in fact,
being
we just
parks.
introduced the Ash Street park plan last year.
And I'm still against the Ash Street purchase. We spent $200,000 on that property, plus another 200 and change on demo. And by the time there's a park there, hopefully I'll be retired and in Florida.
Yeah.
Another 400,000 on remediation for historic fill, because
Yeah.
we don't know what it is, so it has to be remediated per state law.
Yeah, I don't agree with any of these purchases of properties. I didn't even agree with I wasn't here at the time, but the one on, yes, we did get the waterfront park out of it, but we also got a very overly developed block around that mansion. If I was here, I definitely would have opposed that as well. So,
And I definitely agree that is a loaded block with, you got the townhouses on both sides of the mansion. At the same time, that mansion never would have sold. There's a house 3-4 blocks to the east. It's a full block. That's been on the market for, I don't know, over a year now. I think they started at 1.4.
that's
and
for
they're
the
down
market to decide though, Matt, not
Correct.
for the township. of
100%.
Delanco, but Yeah, okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Hi, good evening. Mike McNeil, 726 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Good evening.
So first, I just want to say that, this board, or this committee rather, is very good at exercising foresight and sort of planning ahead. The steps that you've taken with respect to affordable housing, it's fantastic. Great work. And it seems like this project and this proposal is another step in that direction. Joanne mentioned strategic planning, and I think that that's a great descriptor for what's happening here. I think this is a good plan overall. I understand that there's reasons why, all of the public's questions can't be answered at this time. I just hope that eventually those questions will be answered. And I hope that all of these, these pipe dreams, as they've been described, bear fruit. I think each and every one of you are excellent public servants, and I think that this community is very lucky that we have you. You've done a great job for the community. This plan is just further evidence of that. So I just wanted to thank you. That said, I find it a little troubling, I don't know if I want to say arrogance or hubris, but just almost this entitlement that I'm sort of feeling to the public's acceptance of this plan, right? You're not entitled to the public's acceptance, right? You have to earn it, right?
Sure.
And this presentation, I think, is a good step in that direction. And as long as we keep open these lines of communication and this dialogue with the public, I think things will go well. So again, thank you. Please keep up the good work, and good luck.
Thank you. And part of our transparency was making sure that our meetings are broadcast live and then posted to our YouTube site so people can go back and listen to them, because we have nothing to hide. I feel like we're an open book. You can reach any of us at any time. We're happy to answer questions, and we're trying to do what's best for the town, and there's no backdoor dealings here. We're trying to do what's best for the town. None of us personally benefit from any of this. So, yes. Anyone else?
And you know, to Mike's point there, you know, we do this all because we love the town. We're not making money on this. Personally. I mean, just being on this township committee, we make well below minimum wage. If you factor in all the hours we do and the little amount of money I could maybe buy a couple dozen eggs with. And there are former township committee people in this audience who I'm sure could concur with that. Mr. Jenkins, Ms. Holland, Mr. Templeton.
Mike didn't get paid.
Okay, well, he
Mike
declined
donated his salary
but
back.
I think it's like less than $3 an hour if you put down the amount of hours we do. And I'm not complaining about that. That's what we signed up for. That's what we ran for office for. But we do it because we love this town and we try to do the right thing by this town. We pay taxes just like all of you. We don't have any time on office in lieu of taxes. We pay a ton of money in taxes, so anything that affects the residents of this town, it also affects us.
Thank you. Good points. Anyone else? Mr. Lohr? Or was that just a bathroom break? Are you coming up? Okay.
Stephen Lohr, 2800 Colgate Avenue. I just want to say that as a member of the Recreation Commission, I fully endorse this plan that the Township Committee has. And I also want to say that I've been attending meetings for many months, going all the way back to 2024. This has been talked about at several meetings, and there's a lot of familiar faces here. And I was at the public hearing. It was standing room only, and this was discussed many times. I just want to say that, you know, some say, well, this is a once-in-a-lifetime purchase. I don't know if I agree with that, but I would agree with that this is a once-in-a-generation opportunity. We probably won't have this opportunity again for this property. You know, this is a property that now is next to parks, it's next to residents, it's next to the creek, and I don't think we'll have this opportunity again for this property. You know, look, I'm 33. I already have my plot purchased at Memorial Cemetery. Next, I plan on living here, planning on dying here. I don't want to drive down that road 20, 30 years from now, looking at the tractor and trailers and the asphalt and going, what could have been? You know, and I just want to also say that I was a little concerned when I was seeing some of the comments about when we start doing this, well, there's not that many residents that live next to that property, so we shouldn't be doing this. You know, I don't live really over there, so it really doesn't affect me. We all live in Delanco. You know, I remember when the West Avenue Nature Trails was under threat, that's up where I live, and there was a threat of the state coming in, cutting down trees, making it a disposal site. You know, there were many people on the other side of town, you know, that lived near Hawk Island. They didn't say, oh, well, I don't live on that side of town, so I don't care. And just like there were many people in Colgate and Goucher that didn't say that when Hawk Island was under threat for dredge balls. Well, good, it's on that side of town, so I don't care. You know, when the mansion, when it was going to become a facility for adjudicated juveniles, you know, the whole town, Committeewoman Fitzpatrick, Committeeman Arlett, I remember those meetings and everyone attending, and there was a lot of fear. And I was really happy that the state moved forward, or the township moved forward with the purchase of that property, because I think the result was quite beneficial. You know, the tax revenue we get from those carriage homes is a hell of a lot more than we would have gotten from a state facility that probably paid no taxes to the township.
Right.
So, and we got a park out of it, and we got carriage homes. And I've talked to a lot of those people that live in the carriage homes that come out during our carriage rides, and they're really nice people. And I'm very thrilled that they've become members of our community. So I just want to say to the public and to everybody that we really need to stop and think when we start looking at things in terms of, well, I don't live in that section of Delanco. How many people really live over there? I don't really, it affects all of us. This is one town, and we're all Delanco residents. And I'll stop there. So thank you.
Thank you. Last call for public comment.
And just one thing back to...
Let me close this.
Oh, sure.
I'm going to close this portion of public comment. Go ahead, Matt.
And just back to Mr. McNeil's comment about transparency. You know, I would love if this room was packed every single township committee meeting like it is tonight or like it was on December 16th. The sad fact is, usually we could fill maybe a row, maybe two on a good township committee night of public in this room. And for the people in this room who are on school board, I'm sure you could appreciate the same thing at your school board meetings. People come for the Student of the Month awards, and then
It's us.
it's myself, other committee members, and some of the teachers there, and other staff members, and the room's empty. All of our boards, the Township Committee, the School Board, Joint Land Use Board, we would all love if you packed the rooms and gave your input. But the sad fact is, the majority of the time, no one shows up, heads are in the sand until something happens, and then they're like, well, why didn't we know about this? Show up to stuff. That's why. I'm not being disingenuous. I'm not trying to do anything, but pay attention to the town. Before I was on committee, when I first moved here in 2004, I had an issue with something in town. You know what I did? I came to a meeting, I spoke up, I believe Mr. Oled was mayor at the time. It was an issue with shade tree, and he got it addressed. You come to us, and yes, we're still having issues with shade tree 21 years later. You come to us, and we get your issues addressed, and you have to learn about what's going on in your town. And don't just take words on a Facebook page. Don't take words from what your best friend's sister's boyfriend's teacher tells you. Come to us, learn what's going on, watch our YouTube page, read the minutes. They're all online. This town does a great job about, we have all the minutes from every single township committee meeting back to 2005 or 6 online. And if you wanted something earlier, I'm sure we could pull them out of the archives. But learn about what's going on in your town. I'll get off my soapbox now.
Anybody else? Soapbox? Okay, we'll move on to comments and reports. Township Administrator, Mr. Schwab.
Okay, let me see if I can find what I have here.
Can you
Just
top
pull
all that?
Yeah, pull
All
that
right.
down. There you go.
Number one, we just forwarded on to you, the New Jersey American Water is planning on making a connection across the creek at Buttonwood. We have a gas connection there, now it's going to be a water connection. They've been talking to us for about 2 years about it. They finally are ready to move, and we'll get easement documents on that and road opening permits, and we'll find out more detail as to what their timetable is. So we want to make sure everybody knew about that. Also, PSE&G is working on gas system improvements in many neighborhoods, and we posted it on our website, and they've sent letters to anyone who is on streets where they're going to have the gas mains replaced, and they're going to have new gas meters, gas services, and that's going on. Our engineers working with them in terms of the road paving and restoration, but all that takes time. But that's going on for the second year in a row. And the third thing I have is we got a proposal from Jersey Professional Management to do executive recruitment to recruit a full-time township administrator. So hopefully in the next few months they'll have somebody on so I can finally retire. And I need approval from the Township Committee to authorize up to $8,000 for this project through Jersey Professional Management. And I'd ask for a motion on that.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second the motion that you eventually be able to retire and we authorize the
Go on that
contract.
cruise.
Roll call or all in favor, Janice?
All in favor, is that
Favor.
All in favor, please, of JPM's contract?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you,
for
Mr.
passing the
Schwab.
budget. Got a lot of work to do now to implement it.
Of course.
Get it done before you retire.
I hope I made you proud by explaining all that, too.
That was fantastic. That's why I can retire, because she can explain it all. Thank you so much.
Make
Well
that
done,
seamless
Charlie.
transition. Thank you. Department heads, Chief Basil Warren II.
Good job. Good evening, everyone. I mentioned at our last township meeting that we have 2 new officers that are currently on FTO. 6-week period due to them already being certified officers. They were lateral transfers from other departments. So they have 2 weeks left. They're doing very well. Unfortunately, though, one of my sergeants, Vince Epifano, was injured 3 weeks ago, and I was told today that he'll still be out on light duty until the beginning of May. So 2 steps forward, always 4 steps back.
Yeah, just can't get
Sorry to
ahead.
hear he's injured.
And I still
Yeah.
have another officer that's still on leave. But with successful completion of therapy. He should be back in the beginning of May.
Good.
But now he'll be on desk duty. So, but for our numbers as of today, for the year, as of right now, we had 19 police cases with a total of 70 for the year. There were 46 motor vehicle violations issued to date with a total of 239 for the year, with 148 motor vehicle stops this month to date with a total of 510 for the year. Right now, as to date, for today, we've had 657 calls for service with a total for the year of 3,554. So we're on pace now to probably beat last year by about 1,000 or so.
So if I'm doing that math correctly, that's roughly 29 calls a day this month.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's not a good record to beat.
No. So, but the guys are, they're working. They're busy. We were able, on a light note, they were able to go out and participate with the Easter egg hunt last week. So they were happy to be out there for that and
Yeah.
have pictures with you guys in the Easter Bunny.
They arrested the Easter
I heard. I heard.
I don't think Danielle posted that yet. We'll
I
have
don't
to,
think she did.
we'll have to get into
She
it.
admitted that one. But yeah, so that's all I have to present tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Lohr?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Two things to report on. The first one is I attended the mandatory community development block grant meeting with the county community development office, and the township has moved to the next phase of approval for its community development block grant application to continue the handicap barrier, the handicap curb barrier replacement program. So as long as that continues for approval process, there's 2 more phases. Hopefully we'll receive grant dollars to continue the barrier removal for the handicap ramps. Second thing is that I attended the meeting of the Riverfront Solid Waste Consortium that we belong to, 3 towns, Delanco, Beverly, and Edgewater Park. Our current solid waste contract expires this year, so we have to go out for bid for a new contract. And so we met, and that process has started. The bid specs are put together. The average bid advertisement should be on or around April 29th, with bid opening scheduled on or around July 8th. And the reason there's so much time in between, solid waste contract bidding requires a 60-day publication notice. Unlike most other publications, which require 10 days, this requires a 60-day notice in 2 different newspapers. So I just wanted to report that process is ongoing for the solid waste contract. That it does expire this year, so we need to bid out for a new contract. And then the other thing is I'm going to ask Beverly if she will please report on some of the upcoming events that we have for Delanco.
Thank you, Mrs. Lohr. This Saturday, April 26th, will be the town-wide yard sale. Fingers crossed, we have some sunshine, not a lot of rain. The maps are not printed. If you still want to have a yard sale and don't have your address on the map, I suggest you get that into us tomorrow before they finalize the map.
Beverly, do we have a rain date for that?
Typically, we decide as it gets a little bit closer.
Okay.
We'll go a little damp, so
Yeah.
If we do, we'll definitely post that.
So maybe we'll make that decision on Thursday. Okay.
The next 2 events take place the following Saturday, May 3rd, and it's Community Cleanup Day, Public Works Garage from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. And that's where you can bring tires, TVs, electronics, larger plastic items, just a good time to get things cleaned out. Or if you don't sell it at the yard sale, don't bring that there, get rid of it. And also the township will be hosting the free shredding event that we usually do in the spring and the fall. And again, that's Saturday, May 3rd. Shredding is from 8 to 12 p.m.
And it's 4 tires maximum per household. Thank you very much. Township Committee, Kate, we are yielding our time. If do you want to let Fern, do you have anything you want to say, and we'll let Kate go?
Yes, the only thing I have is the county introduced their budget, and this coming Wednesday evening, it'll be up for public hearing. for the 2025 county budget. They'll have resolutions, and then they'll vote on the 2025 county budget. If you go to Burlington County Commissioners, go to their website, and you can bring up the county budget that's being proposed for this year. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Fitzpatrick?
Oh, boy. I have 3 pages.
No doubt. You have been very busy.
I am very busy, but I'm going to try and cut it down a little bit. The HEN Advisory Board met, and we reviewed the forms and revised them, and we actually have, looks like we're going to have 2 new applicants that need to comply with the ordinance. Riverside, Delanco Bridge, and River Road. I spoke with Mike Ott from the Bridge Commission. They're going to be advertising for full bridge painting, roadway repairs, structural steel, and fender repairs for our bridge. The entire project is estimated to cost $5 million. Anticipated construction to start this year and painting in 2026. There may be bridge closings and/or traffic restrictions during that time. As for the flooding issues and the signage, we need to reach out to the county again, since it's a county road and the Bridge Commission has no control over it. Del Riv DISA Youth Sports opening day is this Saturday, 9 o'clock, and the mayor will be throwing out the first pitch. Their next meeting is tomorrow night at 7:30. Shade Tree met on March 26. Residents' requests were reviewed, and it's really a long report. I'm not going to read all of it, but we did review the applications. One tree is going to be removed, and the sidewalk issue was discussed. Stormwater management requirements are not going to be put on the shade tree for the removal replacement on private properties. And tree planting replacement was also discussed. As far as the budget cuts, the mayor and myself explained the budget this year and why we had to cut. Just about every person was cut this year. Joint Land Use Board, I attended their meeting. We reviewed the traffic study. There were several editorial issues brought up. Hopefully they're going to make those changes and emphasize the jug handle at Route 130 in Bridgeboro and the Rancocas Creek flooding, so that we can use that with the state and the county, because the state is in charge of the jug handle, and I haven't heard back from them in a couple months now. Living Springs, I met with Aubrey Fenton regarding the Living Springs complex. It's hard to believe that we are approaching their 15 years since the development was completed. He will be in contact with our solicitor regarding documentation, because they're reapplying to NJHMFA and EDA to refinance and refurbish their property. Matt and I have been meeting with JPM in our search for an administrator to take Richard's place as he retires. Affordable housing, someone had mentioned something about affordable housing at 401 Creek Road. Actually, we were so proactive on affordable housing that we do not have to build any affordable housing for the 4th round and probably the 5th. The seniors met on April 8th at the firehouse. The president went over the trips that are scheduled for the rest of the year. Erin Provenzano was the guest speaker, and she did a presentation on the new PAS 1 form. There was a lengthy discussion with questions and answer period that was helpful to the group. Sewer Authority, we met on April 8th. There's no change on the Stylex property, 989 Coopertown Road. The inspection was complete, waiting for the results from the lab. The trunk line project is finally closed. The escrow was on April 8th, and it looks like the bonds are going to be sold mid-May instead of November. 1000 Coopertown Road, Phase 5 of the Stanker and Galetto project is underway. 480 and 500 Coopertown Road are looking into connecting to our system. The operator's report is on file. And we did accept a bid to TV 2,500 linear feet of our system on Fenimore, Delview, Larchmont, and Rancocas and Holly Street. Gateway Park, as you all know, the park's decorated for every holiday, and it gives me great pleasure to do that, but just a friendly reminder to people that the flowers aren't there for people to cut and make a bouquet out of. They're there for the public to enjoy. The crossings, Carolyn and I met with the HOA, our engineer, and the administration to go over items that still need to be completed before their bonds are released. Carolyn and I also met with Richard to go over upcoming contract renewals. The lead graduation. I attended the 5th grade lead graduation as well as Matt and Carolyn and I. It was a great program that our police department, under the direction of Sergeant Daring, presents to the students. Recreation met on April 10th. The Rec Subcommittee for the Centennial met briefly in discussing dates. The plan is to have a spring antique car show, and the main event would be in September. A meeting with the full committee will be scheduled sometime in the near future. I just want you to know that Kenny Shedeker and Bobby Crabtree attend the meeting from Public Works, and they report on the various projects that are completed on the facilities and fields, and they're doing a great job. The fields are in good shape and ready for opening day. The Easter egg hunt was scheduled for April 13th due to weather, and as always, it's a great event, and the children love seeing the Easter Bunny and collecting the eggs. Additional signage was discussed for Hawk Island. No dogs permitted unless they're on a leash, and the park regulations were discussed regarding metal detecting. I attended the OEM meeting that was held at the firehouse. Eric Holliday spoke about an upcoming exercise drill that would be held with the river line along the Rancocas Creek for the purpose of rescue and safety issues that could happen. I believe that is scheduled for May 3rd at 8 a.m. The state did not agree to do a backfire on Hawk Island since it would cause underground fires that could potentially cause more fires. Flooding on the riverside side of the Riverside Delanco Bridge was discussed, hoping to convince the county again to correct the drainage problems that exist. The coordinator discussed the courses he's attended to keep us up to date on the various items that may need attention. The Environmental Advisory Board offered free trees, and I was able to get a tree, a rosebud, to plant in my lot. And as I had mentioned earlier, the Delanco jug handle, I'm still waiting to hear from the Senator and New Jersey DOT with regard to my requested update on that issue. And hopefully our circulation and traffic study, when that's finalized, that may help us to finally get some relief for that jug handle. And thank you very much for everyone for listening to my report.
That was exhausting. You had a busy month.
I did.
Thank you. No, I think it's important that the residents know how much time we put into this and what goes into, this job representing you. We aren't just up here, twice a month. We have a lot of stuff that goes on in the background. Daily business has to be done, and thank you, Kate, for that very thorough report, as always.
As much as that was sold to me when I first joined Township
Yeah,
Committee 3
just
years
2
and
meetings.
4 months ago, Matt, just sign up for it. It's only 2 meetings a month. You
no
guys,
big deal.
it's nothing to do.
Full-time job.
Yeah, just real quick on, Kate mentioned the Riverline drill. Myself as Deputy OEM Coordinator and Mr. Vierik hiding in the back corner as Township OEM Coordinator. We are working with New Jersey Transit. That will be May 3rd. You will see a lot of activity on the light rail bridge over the creek, or as Crick as a lot of you like to call it. There'll be a light rail car up there. The fire department, as well as our mutual aid companies, will have some boats in the river. There may be lowering of a person in a basket from the light rail car. Don't worry, it's just a dummy. So the light rail will remain in operation on one track, and they'll be alternating. They'll be out there with flaggers. So there'll be a lot of activity from roughly 7 in the morning when we start setting up out there till around 11:15 when we breakdown and do a post event analysis. So that's May 3rd, and we're probably going to be closing off a portion of Pennsylvania Avenue and Rancocas Avenue where it bends over there. But more information will come. If you sign up for the township emails, there'll be alerts on that on through our township email system and as well as through the Alert Sense 911 system.
And that'll be on the township Facebook and website as well.
It'll be posted everywhere, so nobody will be surprised about it. And the New Jersey Transit's also going to have the VMS variable message signs out there on different approaches, so everyone's aware as well.
Thank you, Matt. Any other comments, Township Committee, on the reports? Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda items are considered to be routine and will be enacted with a single motion. Any item requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda. All consent agenda items will be reflected in full in the minutes. Is there anything anyone wishes to have removed from the consent agenda? Okay, hearing none. 2025 Arbor Day proclamation. 2025 Arbor Day is April 25th, 2025. Resolution 2025-68, adopting our new township seal. Resolution 2025-69, authorizing removal of fence and requiring installation of markers and signage for the Traditions at Newton's Landing Archaeological Preservation Area. Resolution 2025-70, authorizing disposal of out-of-service police department equipment. Payment of bills, current fund, $124,677.58. Payroll, $117,000, $117,50.53. Excuse me. Escrow trust fund, $200. Housing trust fund, $3,423.84. Approval of the minutes from February 24th and February 25th. Approval of consent agenda. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Matt, second by Kate. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bartlett.
Yes.
Mrs. Patrick.
Yes.
Mr. McFadden.
Yes.
Mr. Olet.
Yes.
Ms. Seuss.
Yes. Approval of minutes from February 3rd. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Matt and Fern, roll call, please.
Mr. Bartlett.
Yes.
Mrs. Patrick.
Abstain, I was sick that night.
Mr. McFadden.
Yes.
Mr. Olet.
Yes.
Ms. Seuss.
Yes. Correspondence, Janice?
There is no correspondence, thank you.
All right. Round 2 of the public comment session. Again, public comments are limited to 5 minutes. If you'd like to come up to the podium, state your name and address. This is session 2.
Jack Hafley, 44 Pennington Court.
Hello.
Just crossing my Ts and dotting Is and whatever. On this, about the fence at Newton's Landing,
Yep.
this is the fence in front of the farmhouse.
Yes.
Has someone been out to understand what that is about? Basically, you got 3 sections of fence, 3 directions. Parallel to the creek, away from the creek, and then in front of the farmhouse. Is it certain that all that property belongs to the HOA and not to the farmhouse?
So it's in front, it's by the pool area is what we're talking about, right? And then the farmhouse is next to it.
You're talking about the white fence
Right.
that
It's the
runs
arc-
in front of, parallel to the creek,
Right.
90 degrees to the creek, and then back across in front of the farmhouse.
It's like a trapezoidal
Yeah.
shape, 4-sided.
It is.
It's the HOA, it's in the HOA. Janice, can you explain?
No, I've been involved with this for
Right.
years. At one time, that was all one lot and block.
Mm-hmm.
The farmhouse was sold and is on its own property now. And I'm just curious about whether any of that fence is on the farmhouse property rather than the HOA's property.
Mrs. Lohr?
We didn't look at exactly the block and lots. It's more the archaeological preservation area that the NJDEP was requiring. And whether that encompasses, excuse me, 1 lot, 2 lots, or parts of 2 lots was not really at question. The question was, can the property owner, can the HOA remove the fence that's,
Well, the intent was to remove the fence and put it over to Victory Garden. Years ago, that was the intent.
so the
But
DEP basically opined that as long as that there's some way to make sure that in the future, as the time goes on, that there's no disturbance of the ground, it's not built over, then yeah, go ahead and remove the fence. And so the township committee is saying, yes, but as long as you put a sign and markers. Now, if in fact some of that fence were to be of another ownership, the HOA can't take someone else's fence down. They'd have to go to the
that's
property
what my
line.
question basically is.
Yes, the thing is that property lines are not determined by the township, they're determined by surveys. So the HOA is being given permission, or the fence is being given permission to be removed. So if in fact the HOA was moving forward with removing the fence that's on their property, they can remove the fence that's on its common area property owned by the HOA. If there's some of that fence is on the farmhouse, which is owned by another entity, then that owner has the permission to remove the fence from their part of the
Fine,
property.
but I just wanted to,
But we don't determine the property lines. That's on surveys.
okay. Who's going to take the fence down?
Not our purview.
You guys.
The HOA is the
The
one
HOA
who-
requested it.
The HOA requested it. They gave us
So
a
you're
description, a design, and we approved the design pursuant to our attorney, said it was fine. But it is an archaeology area, though it can't be disturbed.
Oh, I understand all that.
Mr.
My only concern is that part of the fence may not belong to the HOA.
Well, I guess the
And-
HOA has to determine that
Then
by the surveys.
at that point, someone will have to contact the owner of the farmhouse and ask if he wants his fence taken down or not.
Yeah, that would be up to the HOA to determine the survey lines and all that.
The township was approached and was told that the HOA wanted to get moving on taking this fence down, but needed township approval.
Well, that's been, what, 4 or 5 months ago?
Yeah, we waited for the design and, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Peter Fritz, 303 Union Avenue.
Hi, Peter.
Hi. This is kind of spontaneous, but is everybody on the Township Committee, are you all aware of what the ramifications are for that archaeological area? Do you know why that's right now fenced in?
Yes.
You know what's there? And
Yes.
you all are aware of it?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that
That's why
You
we
did.
required the marker, the line markers stay there, and then to have to the signage as well, so any future generations know what that is and it doesn't get lost in some paperwork somewhere.
To the best of my knowledge, there are 11 sites within Delanco that are considered either federal or state historic preservation sites, but they're very cagey about what some of them represent.
Yes.
And I just want to make sure that you knew what was there.
Yes, we
Okay,
do.
very good.
Thank you so much.
Excuse me, Peter?
Yes.
You said there's 11 sites in town?
Yes.
Where would we find that listing? Because
I
Mrs. Ruff,
downloaded it from the State Historic Preservation Office online, and every August, I believe, they republish the list with any changes. And so I like to pull the list up at least once a year to look to see if they've designated something that we're not aware of.
okay. The reason I asked, Mrs. Russell and I were working on the state cross-acceptance plan,
Mhm.
and that might be information that we want to have.
Sure.
And it's not too late for us to submit that, so I'd like to get together with you and get that list and forward it.
I'll see if they're still publishing it. A lot of changes happened after the COVID lockdown, where the office was closed for long periods of time. So I don't know if they're still on the same schedule that they were before COVID, but I can get the link to that list and send it to you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Appreciate
sure.
that.
Thanks, Peter. Anybody else?
Hello, everyone. Nancy Andorco, 68 East Ships Way. I just have a general question on the Creek Road, 401 Creek Road. What's the next step that I can tell people who ask me? Are we still on the same timeline? Settlement
Nothing
is?
has changed on our end. Nothing has been
That's what I
officially
just-
submitted to us. We're moving forward. We're
Great.
still in that 20-day estoppel period, so.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Just wanted to
welcome.
make sure. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Session 2 is closed to the public. Moving on to discussion items. We have a proposed ordinance to amend the Township Code for Township Park metal detecting. That was brought up. There was an inquiry by a resident that wanted to do metal detecting. We took a look at the code, recreation, excuse me, took a look at the code and came back with some recommendations. So that's why it's in our packet right now. So they want to, do you have my packet? Can I have it? They want to.
There you go.
Thank you. So they want to, right now it states that under Chapter 216, 5-1, Letter 4, under passive park property, metal detecting is only permitted, they want to add that metal detecting is only permitted at the West Avenue Nature Trails, that metal detecting is not permitted at active park property, passive park property, Gateway Park, Centennial Park, or historic waterfront park. It also states metal detecting is not permitted within 100 feet of any building or facility. Recovery tools may only cause minimal disturbance and digging may not exceed 6 inches. Disturbed areas must be restored to their original condition. Articles found that are of apparent historic or personal significance, such as artifacts or jewelry, must be turned into the township's municipal office. That's how our code reads right now. They also want to change definitions, change Vine Street Park to Centennial Park, and change Zerberg Waterfront Park to Historic Waterfront Park. So basically, they're asking for us to change those two names and also add the language that metal detecting is only permitted at West Avenue Nature Trail, and that it's not permitted at those other active parks that were named. Any discussion?
Would that restrict History Board? Like occasionally we'll get requests to metal detect in some of the properties of the parks that we own.
I think it would restrict it. I think we discussed that, and
Yeah.
we really didn't want somebody
Digging holes in the
digging
parks.
holes
Yeah.
in our
Yeah.
parks.
You have had requests that have come directly to the district board about doing that kind of thing, and it's been talked by the regulations.
Come up to the podium so they can capture you if you don't mind, if you're going to talk. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Yes, the History Board has received some inquiries about getting permission to go to some of the park properties and street ends and things to do some metal detecting. And we were going by the regulations as they exist now, which are not what you're saying at this point. So this is new to us, and we haven't had a chance to give this much thought. Didn't know this was going to come up tonight. Sorry.
Well, Recreation discussed this at length at their last meeting, and they really didn't want somebody digging up the parks. West Avenue is a different area, the nature trails, we kind of left that open for metal detecting, but we've put a lot of money into the other parks, and we would prefer no one do any metal detecting. I mean, that's what was discussed at the meeting. I'm their liaison, so I'm reporting as that.
Okay, well, I wasn't aware of a change.
And so I would recommend to the township that we change that ordinance to include this wording to protect the areas.
And it's worth noting that the beaches in the river are not our purview. That's not township land, so people are free to metal detect along the riverbank as much as they want. Not something that we, well, according to law, but we don't have any purview over that.
We have had some artifacts that have been turned into the historical board that were discovered during a blowout tide on the beach.
Sure.
And we're very happy to get the artifacts, so that was good. Now, we've also discussed using ground penetrating radar at some point, because we were trying to find a foundation of a historic building that was theoretically located at the new Riverfront Park, kind of in the corner there.
Mm-hmm.
And we were hoping that we would be able to get that done before There were a lot of amenities that went in there, concrete benches, that kind of thing. So I don't know whether this would be considered part of that, because you're not looking for metal, and it's like a lawnmower.
Yeah, GPR is different. It's not something that would be under metal detecting, so.
Yeah, okay, thank
The
you.
renovations are starting,
Yeah.
so.
Like in 24 hours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like literally.
They're starting, that park's gonna be under construction.
Yeah, I would definitely talk to Rec about that too, about doing something like that. I would go to their next meeting.
Okay. We tried to do something in December because we had some grant money that was still left over from last year's history grant, but we didn't get around to it before the end of the year, so we were hoping
Okay.
we'd still have a window, but it doesn't look like we have one.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Peter. Bill, would you like to come up and talk about the community forestry grant application?
Mayor.
Yes?
Are we gonna do a motion?
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. You can come hang out here. Let's do the motion to adopt
I was
this.
gonna say, did you want to discuss this further, continue the discussion to another meeting? Did you want to authorize this solicitor to draft an ordinance?
Good draft.
Or
I'm fine with having, Doug draft the ordinance to amend the code for metal detecting. Everyone else good with that?
Yes.
No objections?
I'm
Okay,
fine.
we can go ahead and direct Doug to do that, please.
And also the name change?
That too.
Okay, right.
Okay, good to move on. Mr. Matalevich, could you talk to us about this community forestry grant, please?
Yeah. Under the Community Forestry Act, township is required to have a community forestry management plan in place. We've had one in place now for about 15, 16 years. It's actually due up for renewal this year. Part of that's going to be a new tree inventory, which is the biggest part of the budget. So we got a proposal from our licensed tree expert to prepare that inventory and community forestry management plan, about 15 grand. Fortunately, we really can't proceed with new grants until our last one is closed out. So we put the money in the budget, just in case we don't have the time frame to get the grant complete.
Right, so when Kate and I were at the Shade Tree meeting, Kevin had mentioned that there is funding available for this, and that's basically a guaranteed funding situation, that we should apply for that?
Yes.
Yes.
So is that what this is we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay, so that's something Shade Tree would want to move forward with, something you're taking on, or?
Yes, I'm preparing the grant application.
Okay. So I would suggest that you prepare the grant application, send it to us for our review, and then I would assume that the township would want to move forward with that. If we don't have to spend $15,000 out of a budget, we could get a grant for it, and there's really no cost to have that drafted. Anybody else have any objections or questions?
Is there any funds match that the township has to do? Or is it,
$5,000 match.
we have to match $5,000?
Yeah, because we didn't budget.
20,000 max grant.
Yes.
And there's a 5,000 match?
Correct.
I wish we had, I wish the Shade Tree Commission gave their budget to us before we
Right.
did our budget.
Okay.
So we
Because
could have
didn't budget
incorporated
for
this.
that.
Yeah, well, Kevin didn't mention a match initially, so.
And Kevin just said that there's funds out there for a grant. He didn't say anything about a match, and he said that,
Well,
it
match
shouldn't
can be-
cost us anything.
Match can be in-kind services.
Huh.
So hopefully we can volunteer enough time to make the match.
So not a cash match, but in kind.
Right,
Oh,
Okay.
so so we can figure out how to do in-kind at Shade Tree?
yes.
Okay.
I value your time, Bill,
I'll
at about
volunteer.
$5,000 an hour.
We'll volunteer our time.
Actually, I think the volunteer rate's up to about $36 an hour now. So
Wow.
for inventorying trees, I can burn that through that $5,000 pretty quickly.
I wish our volunteer rate was $36 an hour.
Yeah.
Could you just send us the information for that too, the link, so we could just look at it? And then whenever I would move forward with that application and for us to review it.
Richard has.
We meet
Richard
Wednesday
has
night,
it?
so.
Right.
Yeah, there's the grant, there's two pieces to it. 5,000 is for inventory and 20,000 is for the plan. And then we have to match, so we have to put 25% against the $1,250 against the $5,000 for the inventory, and another $5,000 against the $20,000 for the plan itself. I don't know if you have to do any.
Does it mention
inventory or
in
not.
kind in there, or does it say?
Yeah, it does mention in kind. There's a whole detail. Matching funds are required can be met through in-kind volunteer contributions and cash from the local government or other entities, similar to what we went through with the planting. And because of the size of the match and the fact that we had to pay our planner so much, we didn't really need the in-kind. We used all cash.
Right.
So that's, but you need a project manager and you need a grant manager. The project manager, which Bill is usually done as a project manager, but the grant manager is a municipal employee, is primary contact for the money side that
Right.
we had to jump into at the end to make sure that we got the money back. It's a reimbursement project, so you got to spend it all, and then you got to give them enough detail so that they would give us the reimbursement.
What are the ramifications if we do not do this?
Well, then we lose our accreditation under the Community Forestry Act, which means we could be sued by anybody who does a slip, trip, or fall.
So at that meeting, I had asked Kevin, I don't think you were at our last meeting.
No, I wasn't.
And because we didn't budget for this, and it was like $15,000 plus 5 or what have you, and then he said, well, there's grant funds out there, so there's no cost to do it. But I had suggested that we write a letter to let them know that the funds weren't available from the township this year because they're not in our budget, and to extend our approval until next year when you can formally submit a budget that would include that. And Kevin didn't seem to think it would be a problem getting the grant to pay for the whole thing. So if we don't have the funding, since it's not budgeted, we would definitely write a letter on behalf of the Shade Tree Commission to explain the situation and give us another year approval to continue it next year.
Try it.
Yeah, maybe you can try it, and if they reject it, then I don't know where we
do
go
you have
from
a
there.
contact
but
there that
yeah.
you deal with?
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
I know Todd Wyckoff. I don't know
I
if
don't
he's
think
still there. Is he? He's not there?
No.
Okay.
Brian
Okay, well then you're
McDonald.
would you reach out to your contact, and if you have any issues, let me know, and so we can
Yeah.
do something here.
And just
from
stay
the
in communication with us, and we'll figure out where to go from there.
We'll figure, yeah.
And just next year, or later this year, I encourage the Shade Tree Commission to submit the budget when it's requested, so we have this in time.
Right.
November.
Which is November.
All right.
We're putting you on
I thought it
notice.
was included in this year's budget.
Pardon?
Apparently, I thought it was included in this year's budget.
Your
We didn't
budget
get this
didn't
year's
get it
budget.
until February.
February,
No.
we were
We were
already.
past that point.
we were
It's due in
past-
November. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't get a
Yeah.
budget until February. We were already
We can,
past
this
it.
is a rolling grant. I don't believe there's deadlines.
Right.
So you can put together the application and then determine what the numbers are, and then you can decide when you can,
Yeah.
put it in. So it's probably something to work on at the same time as making sure we don't
Yeah.
lose accreditation while
Yeah, I
while
don't-
we're doing that. And then maybe, you know, 'cause even if you get the grant towards the end of the year, you can do the budget amendment, Chapter 159 for grant. The question becomes what we use as the matching. That's the only issue that is still out there. If in fact, because it's near the end of the year, it's after November, we can make transfers, or there's less expended, or we've done a real analysis of the in-kind to make sure that we have the ability to match it in kind. So I'd say you don't wait until January to work on this. You start working on it this summer and see where we are. So you're
Well,
ready for either the end of this year or for the 2026
We
budget.
started filling out the application in Sage.
Correct. And you can start working on it now.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
right,
just
Val.
keep in touch. Let us know how
Yeah,
it's
and let
going.
us know if you need any help.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we're
let me
happy
know
to
if you
help.
need any help. I'll be happy to help you out with it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for sticking around. Okay, no need for executive again. So can I get a motion to adjourn, please?
Just hold on, one thing real quick.
Oh.
This weekend, township-wide yard sale, stop by the firehouse. We're doing our hoagie sale fundraiser. We'll be starting selling at 7 o'clock in the morning until we run out,
Even if it rains.
even if it rains.
Shameless plug. Okay.
Not shameless at all.
Anybody else have anything before I adjourn?
I believe the Boy Scouts do
Seven.
their,
They do. They have the
Or
breakfast
from-
sandwiches.
Oh, absolutely.
And then Randall's Rescue is doing a bake sale too at their building, at the Green
On
Building.
Burlington
On
Avenue.
Burlington Avenue.
And
so-
Del Riv opening day over at West
Yep,
Avenue as
Del
well.
Riv opening day. They're selling
So,
breakfast sandwiches too.
Everyone pray for the rain gods to not
Yeah.
rain on us Saturday, please.
Thank you all for attending. Motion to adjourn, please.
Absolutely so moved.
Matt and Fern, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Good night. I have to pee so bad.
And that just streamed.
What?
Well, you drank like a whole gallon of water here, Karen.
That's why I was not drinking, because I didn't,
Yeah. We could edit that out of the record.
Yeah, we're cutting it down to 12, because that's what that study says.
Careful there.